Naruto. I have 100-fold return system. Bind with Uchiha Sasuke at first. Chapter 61. In the end, Yagyu agreed to sign a summoning contract with Parker. With Parker around, he was too lazy to cultivate a new summoning beast. As expected, Yagyu preferred to pick up ready-made ones rather than cultivate them step by step. Kakashi originally planned to take Parker with him to do the mission, but it seemed that the fact that Parker and Yagyu signed a summoning contract made him sad, so he gave up the plan. Parker, you stay here. I'll go back to Konoha. Okay, then just summon me when you need me. Kakashi nodded and left without looking back. His new mission was to escort the daimyo of Wave Country to Konoha. It would have been best to bring Parker with him. After all, even the Uchiha clan with the Sharingan might not be more alert than it. But now this situation, it's fine to be alone. After Kakashi left, the three-person team became idle again. Every day, one person followed Dasna to repair the bridge, and the other two stayed near the house to practice or be in a daze. Sasuke's strength has reached a bottleneck, and it is difficult to make progress in a short period of time. But he still persisted in practicing. Yagyu is the opposite. The stronger he is, the lazier he is. After all, it has nothing to do with him that his strength cannot increase. It's just that Sasuke is not working hard enough. On this day, Sakura was responsible for protecting Dasna, and Sasuke went outside to practice. The bored Yagyu dozed off in the room alone, staring at the white clouds floating in the sky in a daze. Dong dong dong. Lord Yagyu, may I come in? The voice belongs to a very gentle woman. Her name is Tsunami, and she is the daughter of Dasna. She has a son who has had two husbands. The son is called Inari, the child of Tsunami and her first husband. However, Yagyu has never heard his name from Inari or Tsunami, so Yagyu doesn't know the name of her first husband. For this family, it seems that Tsunami's first husband, Inari's biological father, and Dasna's son-in-law is an existence that is difficult to mention. And Tsunami's second husband, Keisha, is often recalled by the three of them. He is a brave and fearless man who dared to fight against Cardo and died Keisha. Because of Keisha's existence, the Dasna family is very famous in the village. When Yagyu was walking in the village, he could hear many words of regret for Tsunami's family. Come in. Lu Sheng's tone was flat, his body did not move and remained lying on his back, his eyes still fixed on the clouds passing by outside. Is there anything interesting outside? Tsunami asked curiously as she saw Yagyu staring at the skylight. Nothing, I just wonder who is freer, me or a cloud. It would be nice if I could turn into a cloud and try it out. Turn into a cloud, Suna murmured, her tone inexplicably a little lost. If I could turn into a cloud, that would be great. Yagyu looked at Suna with some surprise, as if he didn't expect that this woman who had experienced many ups and downs would have such a pessimistic side. However, he didn't want to comfort and enlighten her, he didn't have such a personality. Are you a thief? Do you have something to talk to me about? Yagyu asked. Tsunami instantly regained her spirits, put a stack of fruits on the table, and said, I cut some fruits, I came over to give you some. Yagyu nodded and said in a flat tone, thank you. Parker was thrown by him to be on guard for Sakura. Without Parker to sniff the poison, he would not eat anything from the other party. Seeing that Yagyu did not move, Tsunami picked up a slice of orange and handed it to Yagyu, saying, my lord, would you like to eat something? No need, just put it there. Yagyu maintained an indifferent tone. Normally, Tsunami would not do this. Something must be wrong when things are abnormal. At this time, Tsunami was either replaced by someone else, or the other party had something to ask him. As expected, Tsunami, who was rejected, hesitated for a while and still made her request. Lord Yagyu, I would like to ask you to teach Inari some ninjutsu, is that okay? There is no ninja village in Wave Country, and there is no way to go to Konoha or other ninja villages to learn ninjutsu. So, can I ask you, Lord Yagyu? Tsunami bowed deeply, with a look of request on her face. Yagyu glanced at Tsunami and said lightly, the Wave Country will become a vassal state of the Fire Country in the future. People from the Wave Country will have the opportunity to study in the Konoha Ninja School. Kakashi did not reveal anything to them, but Yagyu guessed something from Kakashi's movements. Unexpected departure, Cardo's death, new mission. From the clues, we can infer that the third generation has deep thoughts about the Kingdom of Waves. After this mission, the sovereignty of the armed defense of the Kingdom of Waves will belong to Konoha. In a sense, the Kingdom of Waves is indeed a vassal state of the Kingdom of Fire. However, it is simply a pipe dream for the people of the vassal state to go to Konoha to learn ninjutsu. It is almost impossible. So Yagyu was just perfunctory to Tsunami, and he did not intend to help Tsunami's family. Although he did not have any bad feelings towards Tsunami, he did not have a good impression of Dasna and Inari. Dasna risked his life for the future of the Kingdom of Waves, and seemed to be a great man, but he deceived the Konoha ninjas and disregarded the lives of the Konoha ninjas. If it were not for Yagyu and his team to accept this mission, other weak teams would be killed by Dasna. And after being discovered, he still likes moral kidnapping and bullies the weak and fears the strong. In any case, from Yagyu's point of view, he does not like Dasna. You are desperately saving the Kingdom of Waves, not saving my country. As for Inari, a timid, vain, and childish kid. This 8-year-old boy did not inherit his mother's gentleness, nor his adoptive father's bravery and fearlessness, but inherited Dasna's cowardice. It is absolutely impossible to ask Yagyu to teach such a guy ninjutsu. Tsunami didn't know what it meant for the Land of Waves to become a vassal state of the Land of Fire, but she was still very happy to hear that Inari had the opportunity to go to Konoha to learn ninjutsu. But even so, she still wanted to get the help of Yagyu and others. After all, it is definitely important to have a guide for learning such things. If Kakashi was not there, she would definitely ask Kakashi for help. Could you please guide me during this time? I still have some private money. Yagyu waved his hand. I believe you have also asked my 2 companions. I am not surprised that Sasuke would reject you, but if Sakura also rejects you, then there is only one possibility. What? Your son does not have the talent to be a ninja. Tsunami was stunned for a moment, and the orange in her hand fell to the ground unconsciously. After seeing that the problem that had troubled the Kingdom of Waves for so many years was easily solved by a few ninjas, Tsunami wanted Inari to become a ninja. But the reality seemed to be more cruel than she imagined. Many people can only reach that point in their lives, not because they don't work hard enough, nor because they don't make progress, but because of their talents. Forcing yourself will not only not allow you to break through, but will become an obstacle to your better life. Mr. Yagyu, could you please go and see Inari? When Haruno Sakura rejected her, she bluntly said that Inari had no ninja talent, but only vaguely stated that she did not have the ability to accept disciples. So Tsunami still had a glimmer of fantasy. But Yagyu didn't want to break Tsunami's fantasy, nor did he want to make up a lie to comfort Tsunami's heart. He looked out the window and drove her away in a cold tone. Let's go, there's nothing wrong with being an ordinary person and living your life. The world of ninja is not as good as you think. You see us as being omnipotent, but you don't know that ninjas have to fight and bleed. If you are an ordinary person, you may live a dull life until you are 50 or 60 years old, but if you are a ninja, you may die in a mission in your teens. Do you want him to try his best to get an unsatisfactory result, and finally die tragically in the wild? Or do you want him to live a happy and ordinary life? Think about it carefully. Tsunami left with a lonely face. This was the 3rd time. Inari accidentally saw this scene. He heard the conversation between Tsunami and Yagyu, and knew that he had been rejected 3 times by these ninja masters. Inexplicably, he felt very angry. But what happened after the anger? Inari did nothing. These people could even deal with Kato who killed Keisha. Wouldn't it be easy to kill him again? Inari was scared. He didn't dare to sneer and lose his temper like he did to Uzumaki Naruto. He was afraid of the power of Yagyu and others. When the emperor is angry, millions of corpses are buried. When the common people are angry, they are angry for a while. A month later, Dasna finally built the bridge of Wave Country. However, just when Dasna thought that the villagers could freely travel between Wave Country and Konoha, a team of samurai occupied both ends of the bridge. They called it for the safety of Wave Country, and then began to collect protection fees with a clear conscience. This so-called protection fee is not the cost of protecting the citizens, but the cost of protecting the bridge. In order to prevent outsiders from destroying the bridge, Dasna was dissatisfied with the fact that the bridge he built was occupied by the daimyo, and led the villagers to protest. However, under the threat of the samurai, they retreated. Later, the daimyo issued a policy that the citizens of the country could enjoy a 50% discount on traveling between the two sides of the bridge. The protection fee was not expensive in the first place, and it was even less with a 50% discount. In addition, the two countries were connected, allowing many villagers to go out of town to make money. Over time, no one objected. Dasna has always been brooding about it, but the villagers have compromised, and everyone has a better life, so he did not take the villagers to the daimyo's mansion to protest. He only muttered in his own home that the daimyo of Wave Country is nothing. Although Dasna is not a good person, he is indeed a great man for the villagers of Wave Country. In Konoha, after returning to the village, Yagayu and others were given a half-month vacation. Sasuke and Sakura raced against time to learn how to train summoned beasts from Kakashi. Yagayu didn't plan to waste time training summoned beasts because he already had Parker. Yagayu threw the two opossums to Yaya in the pet shop. It was said that they were bought by someone soon. Although the two little things are ugly, they are quite rare for people with special hobbies because there are no such animals in the Fire Country. The art of seduction. Brother Naruto is so awesome. That's great, Naruto-sama. But this kind of ninjutsu is really shameful. As long as it can beat Grandpa, it's a good ninjutsu. Manghuang, you are too fussy about details. Really, I understand. Konohamaru. Yagyu, who was about to go to the training ground, happened to see Naruto and Konohamaru playing together for some reason. Naruto failed to graduate this year, but his understanding of seduction techniques has reached a higher level. With Yagyu's concentration, seeing this scene also made his blood boil. He subconsciously touched his nose. Well, I've been eating a little too much recently. Yagayu, is that you? Yagayu. Naruto saw Yagayu and immediately ran towards him, but he forgot to cancel the ninjutsu. Yagayu only felt that the visual impact was a bit too great. Ahem, Naruto, stop, stop, stop. If you have something to say, stand there and talk. He didn't want to be misunderstood on the street. Naruto also reacted at this time and immediately lifted the ninjutsu. Long time no see, Yagayu. The two hadn't seen each other since the graduation exam. Now that he saw Naruto again, Yagayu felt a sense of inexplicable familiarity. Haven't seen you for a long time. I heard that you and Sakura are in the same class. I wonder how Sakura is doing. Also, is it hard to be a ninja? Is it dangerous? Naruto asked Yagayu a lot of questions with a smile, and Yagayu answered him one by one. Sakura is doing well and is much better now than before. Hard work, running around, taking on boring tasks, and getting very little pay. Dangerous words are nothing to me, but fighting and killing are very common, and people often die. Naruto was about to ask something, but Menghuang interrupted and said, Brother, are you in the same class as Naruto? Why are you already a ninja? Are you a genius and graduated early? Yagayu glanced at Naruto, and seeing his blushing face, he knew that this guy must have boasted to Konohamaru and the others. But he didn't expose Naruto. They were all classmates and had no grudges. He was not a villain, so there was no need to make things unpleasant. You guessed it right, Naruto and I are from the same class, and genius. When Konohamaru and the other two heard this word, they immediately showed an expression of admiration. Then you must be better than Naruto, right? Naruto can beat Grandpa, so can you. Big brother, can you accept us as your disciples? We want to learn ninjutsu from you. Yes, yes, please, big brother. No, Lu Sheng refused coldly and was about to leave when a voice suddenly came from his mind. Ding. The host's strength is detected to be improving slowly, the system is upgrading autonomously. The system has been successfully upgraded. The host can bind +1 people. Please select the binding object. The sudden voice made Yagayu a little overwhelmed. Am I disliked by the system? Thinking carefully, it seems that in the past few years, except for enriching my own methods, my overall strength has not improved much. Of course, Yagayu does not think that his slow progress is due to himself. He just thinks that Sasuke is not working hard enough. After all, his strength is linked to Sasuke. If Sasuke progresses slowly, he will progress slowly. Fortunately, Yagayu will no longer need to rely on Sasuke alone. Sasuke is unreliable. I'll change him. But who should I replace him with? Without giving Yagyu time to think, Konohamaru and the others were still pestering him. Please, big brother, we can pay the tuition. I'll give you all my snacks for a year. I don't have any snacks, but I can help you with the housework. Yagyu glanced at the three of them. Among the three little kids in front of him, only Konohamaru's ninja talent reached the level of Kage. As long as he practices well, he will definitely be a Kage-level strongman in the future. But Konohamaru doesn't have any special bloodline boundaries. You have to know that after binding with this system, he can not only get feedback on his strength but also get feedback on his talent. So it is very important to choose a target with a strong bloodline boundary. If we only consider the bloodline limit, Haku is actually the candidate that Yagyu favors. After all, Ice Release is not only powerful in attack, but also handsome. It's a pity that Haku has died under Sakura's knife. So when choosing a binding object, we can't just look at his talent, but also see if he has life and luck. Speaking of life and luck, Yagyu couldn't help but look at Naruto. If it weren't for the fact that Sasuke was stronger in the early stage and his upper limit was also high, choosing Naruto would actually be a good decision. After only a moment of hesitation, Yagyu made a decision. Choose Uzumaki Naruto. The ceiling of the combat power in the ninja world, life is like cockroaches. The most important thing is that Naruto has the highest developability. After all, the strength he gets back is the real-time enhancement of the opponent's strength, not the power he already has. If it is the power he already has, then choosing Hashirama Senju or something like that would be much more effective than Uzumaki Naruto. Unfortunately, it's not. Naruto, come with me. Ignoring the three little ghosts' requests, Yagyu brushed past them and walked straight to the small park. He was not worried that Naruto would not come with him. Tisk, what a cold guy. Konohamaru was a little unhappy to be ignored. But he is so handsome, Meng Huang said with admiration. Udon sniffed and agreed. Compared with Naruto, this big brother named Yagyu is indeed much more handsome. I just don't know if he can beat Konohamaru's grandfather. Brother Naruto has followed. What should we do, Konohamaru? Moegi asked. Konohamaru crossed his arms, thought for a moment and said, let's go too. Konoha Park was a place where Yagyu often came when he was still in the ninja school. At that time, Sakura and Ino often came here to play with him, staring at the passers-by in the sunset, eating snacks, and time always passed in this peaceful daily life. He still remembered that his first puo with Sasuke was in this park. At that time, Sasuke lost to him in the school competition. In order to make Sasuke work harder to be his tool man, he gave Sasuke the secret technique of the Moonlight Clan in the park. Later, Sasuke did not disappoint Yagyu. In just a few days, Yagyu's strength improved by leaps and bounds. Yagyu, what's the matter with you calling me here? Naruto asked puzzledly. In fact, he and Yagyu had only an average relationship, and he took the initiative to say hello just because he was emotional because he hadn't seen his classmates for a long time. So he was a little surprised that Yagyu would call him specifically. Yagyu looked straight at Naruto and said lightly, do you want to graduate? Graduation. Of course I want to. Speaking of graduation, Naruto instantly became passionate, with flames in his eyes. I will definitely graduate this year. By then I will be a ninja like you and Sakura. Have you learned the clone technique? Yagyu's words seemed to pour a bucket of cold water on Naruto, making him discouraged. The clone technique is too difficult. I have a way to let you learn the clone technique, and I can even teach you many powerful ninjutsu. Do you want to learn? Really, I want to learn. Naruto didn't think about why Yagyu wanted to teach him, and simply believed that this was help from an old classmate. Then you should come here every night after 8 o'clock. After saying that, Yagyu turned around and left, as cold as usual. Yagyu wanted to explain a few more things, and even wanted to use the Sharingan to try to control the 9 tails in Naruto's body. But he felt a few surveillance eyes, which forced him to give up this dangerous idea. The old guy, the Sandai, is still so cautious. Yagyu curled his lips and muttered to the Sandai in his heart. One of the main reasons why he gave up Naruto and chose Sasuke was that Naruto was being monitored by many people. He couldn't stimulate Naruto the same way he stimulated Sasuke. If he had been too close to Naruto at that time, he might have been called in for a talk by the Anbu. But now it's different. He is now a genius genin of Konoha, and his strength exceeds Kakashi. Even if the Sandai is dissatisfied with his approach to Naruto, he will be wary of his ideas. And if he doesn't do anything out of the ordinary, I think the Sandai will turn a blind eye. I understand. Thank you, Yagayu. Naruto said goodbye to Yagayu happily. Although Naruto usually looks confident, he knows his talent very well. If his talent is strong enough, he would not want to rely on pranks to attract other people's attention. Brother Naruto, what did you say? Konohamaru and the other two arrived late, only to see Yagayu leaving. Seeing Konohamaru and the other two arriving, Naruto pretended to be profound and said, Yagayu said that he had reached a bottleneck in his practice recently, so he asked me to help him practice. Really, even a genius has to ask for advice from Big Brother Naruto, he is worthy of being the Big Brother. Ha 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 ha, of course. Naruto laughed with his hands on his hips, a little too proud of himself. Brother Naruto, can we go watch it together? Ahem. No, ninja training is a secret, how can I let others watch it? Are you kidding me? If you see me learning ninjutsu from Yagayu, how can I be the big brother? I don't have any face. Ah, please, Brother Naruto. Brother Naruto, you won't leave us alone, right? Three big eyes blinked and stared at Naruto, making Naruto feel like he had something stuck in his throat. What should he do? Tell them the truth, or take them with him? For the first time, Naruto felt the disadvantages of bragging. Naruto hesitated for a moment and said, okay, see you here at 8 o'clock tonight. Yeah, Naruto is the best. Now we can only take things one step at a time. Naruto believes that the road will be straightened out when the bridge is reached. At night, in the Hokage building, the Anbu ninja who had been monitoring Naruto for a day was reporting Naruto's daily life to the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. He first talked about some insignificant things, and then started to talk about the important things. Master Konohamaru and his two companions, Udon and Moegi, are now pestering Naruto to learn ninjutsu every day, saying that they want to learn the art of seduction to defeat you. Sarutobi Hiruzen. He didn't expect that he would be caught by Konohamaru just for inviting Naruto to talk, and he didn't expect Naruto would use such a vulgar ninjutsu to embarrass himself. If Konohamaru learned this ninjutsu, his grandson would suddenly appear from time to time and turn himself into a bald beauty to scare him. This day. Ahem. Can't think about it, can't think about it. Ahem, is there anything else? Yes, today, Gekko Yagayu and Uzumaki Naruto met. Gekko Yagayu offered to teach Uzumaki Naruto ninjutsu, and agreed to practice in the public area at 8 o'clock every night. Moonlight Yagayu. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought of the appearance of that arrogant genius boy, what's the reason? The Anbu ninja said, I don't know, it seems that this Gekko Yagayu had a sudden idea. Did the two of them have a good relationship before? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked again. General, the Anbu ninja replied, strange, Moonlight Yagayu shouldn't be such a helpful person. So far, Gekko Yagayu has only been helpful to a few girls and Sasuke. He has always been lukewarm towards Naruto, and he has never taken the initiative to contact Naruto before. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't understand why Yagayu suddenly behaved like this. Gekko Yagayu's background was fine. With the support of Gekko Kimen, Sarutobi Hiruzen had already cultivated Yagayu as his future confidant. And Gekko Yagayu's fiancé Yutsuki Yugao also worked in his Anbu, and could be said to be a completely trustworthy person. However, although he trusted Yagayu, he still had to be careful about the matter of the Jinchuriki. After thinking for a while, Sarutobi Hiruzen said to the Anbu, call Yagayu here. Yes, Yagayu didn't expect that he had just finished talking to Naruto about training in the daytime, and was called by Sarutobi Hiruzen for questioning in the evening. Fortunately, he has a brilliant resume, a clean identity, and strong strength. If he advances, it can be said that he has a conscience and takes care of his old classmates. If he retreats, he can beat Sarutobi Hiruzen and unify Konoha. So when facing Sarutobi Hiruzen's questioning, he seemed very calm. Looking at Yagayu so calm, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not doubt too much. He just reminded Yagayu about the dangers of Jinchuriki and asked Yagayu not to overstimulate Naruto. In short, Sarutobi Hiruzen tacitly agreed that he taught Uzumaki Naruto. In fact, Sarutobi Hiruzen originally planned to let Naruto graduate normally, and then let Kakashi teach him to grow up. After all, Jinchuriki is the atomic bomb of a village. Not only must it have, but it must also be able to be used. This can be seen from the powerful performance of the Eight Tails Jinchuriki of the Hidden Cloud Village in the Third Ninja World War. Although Konoha protects Kushina well and rarely lets Kushina participate in large-scale dangerous tasks, Konoha with Kushina, Konoha without Kushina is completely different. If Konoha still has a strong Jinchuriki, Sarutobi Hiruzen would not have surrendered to other ninja villages in some important events. He would not have been mocked for being cowardly by Danzo. Konoha Park, the time is already past 8 o'clock, close to 15:15. Konohamaru. Why hasn't he come yet? Is he kidding us? Maybe something delayed him. That older brother doesn't look like a liar. Meng Huang made an excuse for Lu Shang. How do you know he's not that kind of person? Konohamaru asked suspiciously. Because he is handsome. Quote. Udon sniffed. Naruto was just as anxious as Konohamaru. He was like an ant on a hot pot, pacing around the park. Yagayu wouldn't lie to me, would he? No, he is definitely not that kind of person. But for someone like me who is hated by everyone, maybe Yagayu just wants to see me make a fool of myself. He doesn't really want to teach me ninjutsu. Is it true that people like me will only be hated by everyone? Konohamaru looked at Naruto with a gloomy face and asked, Brother Naruto, is he not coming? No, maybe he was delayed by something. Naruto laughed. Although he did doubt whether Yagayu would not come, he still chose to believe Konohamaru's question. Because if he also said that he might have been stood up, wouldn't it mean that he was fooled? I am the eldest brother. I'll tell you, Naruto also believes in me, so I'm sure something has delayed me. Meng Huang said again. Konohamaru rolled his eyes. He was tired of this world of looks. Why can't handsomeness lie? And am I not handsome? When I, Konohamaru, walk on the streets of Konoha, whoever sees me will not say, Master Konohamaru, you are so handsome. Sorry, I was late because a cat blocked my way. Who would believe it? ×4. What are you three doing here? Naruto was about to say something, but Konoha said first, let's see how Big Brother Naruto guides you in your training. ? Yagayu narrowed his eyes and looked at Naruto, and said in a long voice, oh, really? Ha ha ha, let's practice together, let's practice together. Naruto was embarrassed after being exposed, but he didn't know how to explain it, so he could only laugh and try to ease the embarrassment. And Yagayu had already given Naruto face once. Naruto himself didn't know how to change, and he liked to flatter and brag, so he wouldn't give him face again. But for the sake of practice later, he wouldn't tear his face with Naruto. He grabbed the collars of Konohamaru and the other two and said coldly, this is a place for practice, no entry for outsiders. After kicking the three out, Yagayu opened a barrier on the spot to ensure that Konohamaru and the other two could not get in. Of course, he left the Anbu ninja who was responsible for surveillance inside, lest he think he was going to do anything to the Jinchuriki. Outside the barrier, Konohamaru kicked the barrier, and the pain made him cry. Ouch, it's just some ninjutsu, who wants to watch it? That's right, this time, even Meng Huang stopped speaking for Yagayu. Because when Yagayu threw her out just now, he showed no mercy at all, and didn't care that she was a girl. We are only 6 years old, okay. Udon sniffed again. Inside the barrier, the Anbu ninja was nervous when he saw Yagayu performing the barrier ninjutsu. But he soon discovered that this barrier was not a strong barrier, and as a special Jonin, he could break it easily. If Yagayu wanted to attack the Jinchuriki, he would definitely not use this low-level barrier ninjutsu. So he didn't report to the third generation immediately, but continued to hide in the dark and monitor. Yagayu, it's okay to let them watch from the side, right? The barrier ninjutsu that Yagayu used was transparent, and only had the color of chakra when it first appeared. So Naruto didn't know that he was trapped in the barrier at this time. If you want them to see you make a fool of yourself during training, I don't mind keeping them here. Yagayu rolled his eyes at Naruto and said coldly. In fact, Even if Naruto didn't mind his boast being exposed, Yagyu wouldn't keep Konohamaru and the others here. It's already troublesome to teach one person, and if there are 3 more chattering little ghosts, won't he be annoyed to death? Naruto chuckled and scratched his head. Obviously, he would rather Yagyu be the bad guy to preserve his image in the hearts of Konohamaru and the other 2. Okay, you want to learn the art of clones, don't you? Are you still going to practice it? Practice. The practicing Naruto instantly became passionate and serious. The next moment, Yagyu performed a dying Naruto version of the clone technique. Yagyu looked at the dying Naruto with black lines on his forehead. Fortunately, he did not choose to bind this guy back then, otherwise it would be a problem for him to graduate. You have been practicing the clone technique for 5 or 6 years, right? You are still like this, with no improvement in 5 years. From a certain perspective, you are also a genius. Faced with Yagyu's ridicule, Naruto could only smile foolishly and dared not refute. So, Yagyu, how do you think I should practice? I have been practicing ninjutsu every day for the past 6 years, but I don't know why I just can't use it properly. I see that the only ninjutsu you've practiced every day for the past 5 or 6 years is the seduction technique, right? Yagyu rolled his eyes, then said to Naruto, stretch out your hand, I will inject a stream of chakra into your body, don't resist. Good. Yagyu grabbed Naruto's hand and poured a stream of chakra into his body through his hand. In the dark sewer, water drips rhythmically from the cracks in the iron pipe above. A few candles are hung on the orange-red earthen wall, and the flickering shadows of the flames dance on the wall. Here, is this the sealed world of the 9 tails? Yagyu looked around solemnly. This place gave him a very dangerous feeling. Even though his strength had surpassed the general cage level, he still felt uncomfortable. The 9 tails, which was full of resentment towards humans, also had extremely evil and terrifying chakra. Even though he hadn't seen the 9 tails yet, he could sense a malicious chakra in the air. Sure enough, it was not groundless that villains would have a bonus to their strength. A person with malicious intent who would kill every time he attacked and a person with a buff that would show mercy every time he attacked would obviously have different strengths. This is why some villains become weaker when they become the righteous side. Yagyu walked in the sewer, turned a few corners and came to a cave entrance. There was no door at the entrance, and from a distance, an iron fence could be seen. Before Lu Sheng could speak, a cold question came from the cave entrance. Lu Sheng did not respond to it, but walked straight in. Through the firelight, he finally saw the appearance of the 9-tailed fox. It was more than 10 meters tall, with orange-red hair, a mouth full of sharp teeth and a pair of huge sharp claws. The most eye-catching thing was its 9 flying tails. What are you staring at me for, little brat? Kyuubi felt uncomfortable being silently watched by Yagyu. Shouldn't ordinary people be scared to death when they see him? How could this little brat be so calm? Also, how did this guy get in? Why is there such a disgusting smell? Haha. Yagyu sneered and did not answer Kyuubi. His 2 eyes instantly turned into red magatama. It's another Uchiha brat. The 9 tails instantly flew into a rage when he saw the Sharingan, and the memories of being controlled and played with by Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Obito flooded into his mind. A pair of huge claws slammed on the iron fence, making a loud noise. However, the seal was unbreakable, and it couldn't shake it even with all its strength. Yagyu didn't care about the 9 tails' anger, and his pair of Sharingans began to rotate. Sharingan. Illusion. With the effect of Yagyu's Sharingan, the 9 tails' eyes also turned into Sharingan. Yagyu controlled the 9 tails with just 2 Magatama Sharingans. You should know that so far, the Sharingans that can control the 9 tails are all at the Mangekyo level, and the fact that he can control the 9 tails with 2 Magatama means that his 2 Magatama Sharingans are no less powerful than the Mangekyo. In other words, he can completely challenge Uchiha Itachi with the power of the 2 Magatama Sharingans. He can truly achieve the battle between the Magatama Sharingans and the Mangekyo without losing. The only difference between my Sharingan and Mangekyo is a few exclusive techniques, so I think I still have a chance of winning against Uchiha Itachi. Yagyu murmured. He had to enter the seal today not to help Naruto control chakra, but to verify the strength of his Sharingan. He knew before that his 2 Magatama Sharingan was 100 times stronger than the ordinary 2 Magatama Sharingan, but he had no idea how strong it was. After all, he has not yet encountered an enemy that can make him use his Sharingan to fight. Now, by controlling the 9 tails and referring to the Mangekyo, Yagyu has made some judgments. His thoughts were pulled back from the Sharingan, and his eyes looked at the seal on the iron fence. As long as this was torn off, the 9 tails could break the seal and come out, and he could also control the 9 tails. But this was not what he needed. The mere 9 tails was completely inferior to the power feedback given to him by Naruto. He controlled the 9 tails to converge the chakra and try not to interfere with Uzumaki Naruto, and then withdrew from the sealed space. The world inside passed a long time, and the world outside passed only a moment. So when Yagyu came to his senses, Naruto and the ninjas in the Anbu did not feel anything wrong. Naruto, I will teach you a way to control chakra. Once you learn this, you will never fail when you use the clone technique. Really, teach me, teach me. Lu Sheng came to a tree and walked up to the highest tree step by step. Step on the tree, and control the chakra attached to the soles of your feet to achieve the effect of climbing a tree. This is a skill that every ninja must learn. Once you have learned this skill, you can easily master most low-level ninjutsu. Well, I will definitely master this technique. Uzumaki Naruto clasped his hands together, with a look of confidence. Yagyu stood on the top of the tree and watched Naruto try to practice by stepping on the tree. I remember that in the original work, Naruto fell many times when he first practiced the tree stepping technique. I wonder if there will be any changes this time when I control the 9 tails. Ren. As Naruto made a seal, a stream of chakra gathered at the bottom of his feet. The skill of gathering chakra at least showed that Naruto did not waste time over the years. The next moment, Naruto confidently stepped on the tree trunk with his other foot, and confidently released the ground with his other foot. Bang! His head landed on the ground, and it sounded like a good head. Looking at the wailing Naruto, Yagyu was speechless. It seems that Naruto's talent in controlling chakra is not particularly amazing. Even without the influence of the 9 tails, there is not much change. I remember that Sakura seemed to have never learned it, and she successfully reached the top in one go. And Naruto, don't be too hasty, take your time. You just put too much chakra on your feet. Oh, chakra control is a feeling, which is related to a person's perception of chakra and also has something to do with a person's personality. Naruto's reckless personality makes him feel that he is not good at controlling chakra. Even if he was sharp, he couldn't control the chakra in one go. Blindly confident attempts would only make things worse. After listening to Yagyu's advice, Naruto began to calm down. He controlled the variables of the chakra little by little, and then stepped on the tree again. He released his other foot. This time Naruto stood firm. The joy of success made Naruto get carried away again. Ha 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 ha, I succeeded, I am really a genius. Ouch! Naruto fell heavily to the ground again, his head hitting the ground again. His already stupid brain was like adding insult to injury. Yagyu covered his face and said nothing, and reminded Naruto to be modest and calm. This went on and on. Finally, after a night of practice, Naruto mastered the tree-stepping technique. Ren. Bang. The smoke dissipated, and a Naruto who looked exactly like Naruto appeared on the side. Yeah, I succeeded. Naruto jumped up with joy, and Yagyu also shed tears of hard work. One night. Finally there is a result. Ding. The host's bound object Uzumaki Naruto's chakra control is improved, and the host's chakra control is improved 100-fold. The host's chakra control is detected to be at full level and cannot be upgraded. Ding. The host's bound object Uzumaki Naruto has mastered the clone technique, and the host's proficiency in the clone technique has increased 100-fold. It was detected that the host's clone technique has reached the maximum level and cannot be upgraded. Yes, I worked for nothing all night. Time flies, and several months have passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, Naruto learned the 3-body technique, shadow clone technique, and Konoha-style swordsmanship from Yagyu. And Yagyu also got the strongest wind escape talent and a lot of chakra feedback from Naruto. Yagyu, who originally had no wind escape talent, can now easily learn wind escape ninjutsu. The 100 cards of chakra he possesses has now increased by at least 30%. Sasuke plus Naruto's 100 times chakra feedback may really allow him to compete with Hashirama in endurance. In the Hokage building, Sarutobi Hiruzen sat in the front, and all the Jonin on duty were summoned, quietly waiting for Sarutobi Hiruzen's orders. This time, the Chunin exam will be held in Konoha. The Jonin who will be taking the Chunin exam in his class will step forward. The 15th class's Junin Tensaku recommends Rukawa Fu, Tanaka Kei, and Yanagi Keisuke to participate in this Chunin exam. Some of the veteran classes stepped forward to make the Ren seal and recommend their subordinates to take the exam. Soon, all the veteran classes had recommended their subordinates. Kakashi stepped forward. Kakashi, the leader of the freshman class, Class 7, recommends his subordinates Gekko Yagyu, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura to participate in the Chunin exam. The leader of the freshman class, Class 8, the Jonin Yuhi Kurenai, recommends her subordinates Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, and Kiba Inuzuka to participate in the Chunin exam. Asuma Sarutobi, the leader of the 10th freshman class, recommended his subordinates Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, and Akamichi Choji to participate in the Chunin exam. Hearing that the 3 freshman classes actually recommended their subordinates to participate in the Chunin exam, many Jonins who were not familiar with the situation showed surprise. Would it be too hasty to take part in the Chunin exam in the first year after graduation? This Chunin exam is not Konoha's own Chunin exam. It requires facing many ninjas from other countries. It will be very dangerous if you encounter powerful ninjas from other ninja villages. These 3 people are really messing around. Uruka looked at the other Jonin below, hesitated for a moment and did not speak. Silence. Sarutobi Hiruzen shouted to quiet down all the Jonin, then he looked at Kakashi, paused for a moment and then looked at Yuhi Kurenai and Sima. Seeing the 2 of them with firm eyes, he said, I believe their subordinates have all grown up through their strict training. Although there are only 9 people who passed the graduation examination this year, these 9 people are undoubtedly geniuses. Since their guiding Jonin believes in them, I naturally believe in them too. Listening to the 3rd generation favoring Kakashi and the other Jonin naturally did not gossip. They are not their subordinates, so they do not need to take any responsibility if they die in the Chunin exam. Seeing that no one had any objections, Sarutobi Hiruzen said lightly, is there anyone else who wants to sign up for the exam? He paused for a long time after he finished speaking, and when no one responded, he said, in that case, the candidates for this Chunin exam will be selected. Next, let's discuss the next issue, about the vigilance during the Chunin exam. Such an important event as the Great Powers entrance examination will definitely attract a lot of people's attention. Famous businessmen and politicians from various countries will come, and some dangerous elements may also take the opportunity to sneak into Konoha. When there are few people, some strangers entering Konoha can be quickly checked. But when there are many people, it is not convenient to investigate one by one, and the whole Konoha will have loopholes. Therefore, it is necessary to rearrange the warning defense system. However, since the Uchiha clan was exterminated, the vigilance of Konoha fell on Morino Ibiki. The other senior ninjas just made symbolic suggestions, and most of the plans were still arranged by Morino Ibiki. After the meeting, Kakashi was left alone. Kakashi, how is Gekko Yagyu doing? He can now take charge of his own affairs, and his experience and strength are superior to mine. During the past few months, Yagyu has participated in many missions besides teaching Naruto. Assassination, protection, infiltration, exploration. After completing various types of missions, Yagayu's mission experience is not inferior to that of a Jonin. Now Yagyu can lead a team to carry out missions by himself. Really, it's a pity that he doesn't want to join the Anbu, otherwise it would be better for him to train in the Anbu for a while. Kakashi was silent and did not comment. Konoha Anbu is an extremely dark place. Every day is spent in killing and raiding. Every day they think about is not killing others, but how to escape from being hunted down. In such a tense mission, a person's potential can be forced, but it is also easier for a person to lose himself. Kakashi did not agree to let Gekko Yagyu go to such a place. He knew Yagayu's potential. If he lost himself in the Anbu or fell into darkness, it would be a disaster for Konoha. However, the Anbu has the third generation in charge, and it is possible that the final result is that Yagyu will be convinced by the third generation and become a loyal guardian of Konoha, just like him. The death of his father made him fall into the obsession of missions. The death of Obito and Rin made him confused and fearful. The death of his teacher made him feel helpless and powerless. For so many years, he has been paralyzing himself with missions and killing. If it weren't for the third Hokage who brought him out of the root, and if it weren't for Kai who brought him out of the Anbu, I'm afraid he wouldn't know what he would become. Seeing Kakashi silent, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't say much. He knew everything about the Anbu better than anyone else. But the will of fire is like this. Some people want to live a glamorous life in the sun, while some people have to carry on in the dark. For Konoha, the sacrifice of some people is inevitable. Have you told Yagyu and the others about the Chunin exam? Not yet. Find a chance to talk to them. After they pass the Chunin exam, I want to arrange for Yagyu to take the Jonin exam. The Jonin exam is different from the Chunin exam. The Chunin exam tests the basic knowledge and abilities of the genin, and selects the best to pass. But for the Jonin, you only need real strength. As long as your strength reaches the level of a Jonin or you have some special abilities that far exceed the level of a Chunin, you can take the Jonin exam. And there is no limit on the number of people who pass or the time limit. In theory, if one person meets the standard, one person passes. If 10 people meet the standard, then 10 people pass the assessment. When you meet the standard, you can take the exam. I understand. Kakashi nodded and agreed. By the way, Sandame, in fact, Uchiha Sasuke's strength is much stronger than that of an average Chunin. I want to recommend him to take the Jonin exam. Uchiha, we can wait for Sasuke's matter. Compared with Yagyu, he still needs more experience. You go down first. Kakashi didn't expect that his recommendation of Sasuke would be rejected. He looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a surprised look, and then returned to normal. I understand. Sarutobi Hiruzen's attitude towards Sasuke has always been ambiguous. On the one hand, he admires Sasuke's talent and wants to train him to be his right-hand man. On the other hand, he is worried that Sasuke will have more power to find out the truth about the Uchiha clan genocide after he gets promoted. Although only a few Konoha high-ranking officials and Uchiha Itachi knew about the Uchiha clan genocide, it is better to be safe than sorry. Before he is sure that Sasuke can be completely controlled, he does not want Sasuke to gain power in Konoha so quickly. The afternoon sun was particularly dazzling, and the park of Konoha was very lively. The three little ones of Konoha, Konohamaru, Moegi and Udon, were playing here. Uzumaki Naruto, a student at the school, and Uchiha Sasuke, a genin from Team 7, were practicing against each other. And the bored Yagyu was lying on Sakura's lap and eating cherries. During the battle, Naruto watched Sakura feeding cherries to Yagyu obediently, and his heart was as angry as a volcano, and his moves became more and more fierce. But, full of flaws, Naruto, who lacks combat experience, is like a child holding a long sword when facing Sasuke, and can play with it with one hand. So no matter whether Naruto uses ninjutsu or swordsmanship, Sasuke can easily dodge it. After a while, Sasuke kicked Naruto away, came to Yagyu and said coldly, "He is too weak, and he can't play a role in my training. Come and fight me." Yagyu. Without waiting for Yagyu to speak, Naruto got up and launched a sneak attack on Sasuke, saying, "Don't look down on me. You haven't defeated me yet." Sasuke didn't even turn his head, and turned the knife in his hand and put it on Naruto's neck. With just a little force, Naruto's head and body would be separated. Such a thrilling scene made Naruto and the Anbu in the dark sweat. Seeing Naruto's frightened look, Sasuke sneered and mocked, "Ha, coward." Naruto hesitated to speak. He wanted to refute Sasuke, but he was not strong enough, so it was useless to say anything. Sasuke put away the knife, continued to look at Yagyu, and said, "Fight with me." "Ah." Liu Sheng stretched and slowly stood up. "You don't need me to play with you, there will be someone to practice with you." After teaching Naruto a lesson, many of the subsequent ninjutsu skills were completed by Sasuke in Yagyu's place. At the beginning, Yagyu kept fooling Sasuke by saying that Naruto was actually a hidden genius, and as long as you teach patiently, you will gain a strong training object. Sasuke didn't believe it at first, but after Naruto lost the influence of the Nine Tails, he learned ninjutsu very quickly. The ninjutsu that was difficult to master before, Naruto only needs a few minutes to learn it. This gave Sasuke some hope, so he taught Naruto with all his heart. But Naruto's talent is not omnipotent. Some special skills such as swordsmanship, illusion, sealing, and barrier ninjutsu are difficult for Naruto to learn. After studying with Sasuke for a few months, he only learned the basics. The only thing worth admiring is that Naruto's non-attribute ninjutsu learns quickly and his body is very durable. But at this stage of Sasuke, blindly bullying will not make him progress. The result of letting him go may be that his skills are getting worse and worse, while Naruto will grow. Sasuke is not willing to do things that are not beneficial to him. Sasuke frowned. He didn't believe that such a person existed and thought that Yagyu was just trying to fool him. At this time, Yagyu pointed to the entrance of the park and said, "Those guys over there should be enough for you to play with for a while." Everyone looked up and found that Konohamaru and his companions, who had been driven to the edge of the park by Yagyu to play, were being bullied by two ninjas from other villages. "Bad guy, let Konohamaru go." Moegi looked anxious and grabbed Kankuro's hand, trying to pull it away to save Konohamaru. Udon wanted to act but couldn't. The difference in strength made Udon at a loss. Kankuro looked at the three brats with disgust on his face. "Three stinky brats are actually playing ninja games here to get in the way. Kankuro, don't go too far, this is not the Sand Village." Sister Tamari was worried that Kankuro would kill Konohamaru, so she kindly reminded him. However, this reminder coupled with her playful expression, she didn't look like she was afraid of anything. "Got it, I'll let this brat lie down for 10 days or half a month at most, I won't let him die." Kanjiro sneered, and then began to exert force on his hands. At this time, a stone suddenly hit the back of his hand, and the pain made him unable to help but let go of his hand. Get out." Kankuro covered the back of his right hand with his left hand, looked around vigilantly, and finally landed on a tree. Standing on the tree was a black-haired boy with a cold face that made Tamari unable to help but become infatuated with him. "This boy is quite handsome." The smile on Tamari's face made her forget that her brother had just been beaten by the other party. "Brat, are you a ninja from Konoha? Come down and fight." Kankuro couldn't stand his temper and challenged Sasuke. But Sasuke ignored him, glanced at the two of them, and finally looked at the branch below him. There was a man with a big gourd on his back standing there. "Oh, you discovered me so quickly, I recognize you." Gaara looked at Sasuke with a little surprise, and then murmured in admiration. I don't know if it was an illusion, but Sasuke heard a hint of excitement in this cold tone. "You are Gaara, right?" Before Sasuke could reply, a voice suddenly sounded in Gaara's ear. This horrifying scene made Gaara instantly activate absolute defense. Countless sands poured out of the wine gourd and flew towards Yagyu. However, Yagyu did not move at all, and countless flames enveloped him, isolating him from the invasion of countless sands. Absolute defense, it seems good, but the speed is a bit slow. Yagyu commented lightly, then looked at Kankuro and said something inexplicable. "You are quite brave, boy." Kanjiro didn't understand what that meant, and was about to ask, but Yagyu disappeared again. And everyone, including Gaara, didn't know how Yagyu disappeared from their sight. What a fast speed. Gaara and the other two were silent for a few seconds. "Is this person a Jonin from Konoha?" Gaara asked curiously. Sasuke replied calmly, "He is my teammate and also my opponent. He is only a genin at the moment." "Are you kidding? That guy is just a genin. The way he looked at me just now made me feel like I was going to die." Kanjiro said angrily. The terrifying gap in strength made Kanjiro unable to muster the slightest thought of resistance. And the powerlessness made him feel insulted, so he was inexplicably angry. Tamari didn't believe it either, but looking at Yagyu's appearance, he didn't seem to be older than Gaara and the others, so was he really a genin? Konoha is really full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers, and two handsome and powerful guys appeared at once. But the one just now seems to be more powerful and handsome than the one who stayed on the tree. "What's his name?" Gaara asked. "Moonlight Yagyu," Sasuke said lightly. "And you?" "My name is Uchiha Sasuke." Gaara nodded and said, "My name is Gaara." After that, Gaara turned into sand and appeared behind Kankuro and Temari. Let's go, don't cause trouble. The two older ones were very well behaved after hearing Gaara's instructions, just like wild dogs meeting a lion. Yes, wait a minute. Just as Gaara and the other two were about to leave, Naruto suddenly jumped out and called out to them. Are you planning to leave like this? Naruto questioned the three of them. As the eldest brother of Konohamaru and the other two, Yagyu and the others could not seek justice for Konohamaru and the others, but he could not. Kankuro looked like a yellow-haired kid, and he didn't even have a forehead protector on him. He was obviously a brat who hadn't even graduated from the ninja school. He sneered and said, "What do you want? If you want to die, I'll grant your wish. You are still so arrogant after beating someone up, stop looking down on others." Shadow clone technique. Naruto directly created 4 or 5 shadow clones to surround the three people, as if he was going to teach Kankuro and the other two a lesson. Kankuro and the other two were also a little surprised when they saw Naruto use the shadow clone technique. This inconspicuous kid actually knew how to use the shadow clone technique that only Jonin could use. Hey, little yellow-haired boy, what is your position in Konoha? Chunin. Naruto's stupid look doesn't look like a Jonin, so Kankuro can only guess that Naruto is a Chunin with some special skills. He may not wear a forehead protector because of habit or something. But Naruto's answer made him drop his jaw. I am a 6th grade student at Konoha Ninja School. Also, I'm not some yellow-haired guy, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. What, you are a student of the ninja school? Temari exclaimed in surprise, snatching the right to exclaim in shock from Kankuro first. How is it possible that you are just a student? Kankuro couldn't imagine that Uzumaki Naruto, a guy who mastered the Jonin Jutsu, was still a student. And such a student couldn't graduate from the ninja school early. Was it because there were too many excellent ninjas in Konoha, or was the assessment of the Konoha ninja school really that strict? Gaara frowned, shocked and excited. He who had never met an opponent in the Sand Village could find an opponent so easily in Konoha. How many masters were hidden in this small Konoha village? Kankuro, I apologize. Go quickly, don't waste time. The more Gaara felt Konoha's strength, the more excited he became. He was afraid that he would not be able to suppress his excitement and explode, and then their plan would fail. Although Kankuro did not want to apologize, he could only bow and apologize in front of Konohamaru due to Gaara's deterrence. I'm sorry, Kankuro said coldly and was about to turn and leave. But Naruto did not let him go, and shouted loudly, Konohamaru hasn't forgiven you yet, and you're leaving like this. Boy, don't push your luck, don't think I'm afraid of you. Kanjiro said angrily. Konohamaru and the other two were frightened by Kanjiro, and pulled Naruto's clothes and said, Brother Naruto, forget it, he has already apologized. Don't be afraid of him, unless you truly forgive him, he can't leave. It was rare for Naruto to be a messenger of justice, and at this moment he quite enjoyed the feeling of standing up for others. But Kankuro was sad, as the son of the Kazekage, a teenage genius puppeteer. If it weren't for this Chunin exam, he would have been promoted to Chunin long ago. Since he was a child, he has never been afraid of anyone except his brother Gaara, sister Temari, father Rasa, and master Maki. Now a yellow-haired kid who hasn't even graduated from a ninja school is actually in front of him, provoking him again and again, he is really going to explode. Kankuro, hurry! Hearing Gaara's cold voice, Kankuro's explosive emotions instantly subsided. As a failed Jinchuriki, Gaara could not perfectly control the power of the one tail. So he could not sleep since he became conscious. It is conceivable what kind of madness a human being would go if he lost sleep. In addition, he lost his loving mother since he was a child, was betrayed by his brother-in-law, and his father was indifferent, and he was discriminated against by the village. Gaara's psychological distortion has reached an extremely perverted level. If he dares to disobey his decision, he will definitely kill him. Alas, Kanjiro sighed deeply, and came to Konohamaru to apologize again. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Konohamaru looked at Kanjiro's pretended sincerity and didn't want to make things difficult for him. He didn't want to see this ugly man with a painted face for any second. Okay, I forgive you, you guys go. Kanjiro stood up unhappily, gave Naruto a vicious look, and then left. Naruto didn't care, he released his shadow clone and let them go. He was not afraid of Kanjiro's revenge. This is Konoha after all. A few people from other villages dare not mess around. These guys are from other villages, and they are causing trouble in our village. How abominable, Meng Huang said dissatisfiedly. Fortunately, Naruto is here, otherwise it would be troublesome. Udon said. We also have to thank Brother Sasuke and Brother Yagyu. If they hadn't intimidated the leader of the other side, I'm afraid things wouldn't be so easy. Meng Huang analyzed. Speaking of Yagyu and Sasuke, they were no longer here at this time. Saving Konohamaru was just a matter of convenience for them, and their purpose of coming here was just to see Gaara. I won't thank them. If it wasn't for Brother Naruto, that clown-faced guy would never apologize to me. Brother Naruto is the best. Konohamaru snorted coldly. The praised Naruto put his hands on his hips and laughed. Ha 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 ha, Konohamaru is right, I am the best. Although Meng Huang disagreed with this point of view, Yagyu and Sasuke were indeed not very loyal, so she didn't speak for them. Back in Konoha Park, Sasuke was very happy after seeing Gaara. Because Yagyu didn't lie to him, this Gaara is really an opponent worthy of a fight. It's just a pity that Yagyu said they were here to take part in the Chunin exam. The only time they can officially fight is during the Chunin exam. These three guys are messing around in the village, it's really abominable. When the Chunin exam comes, I will definitely teach them a lesson. Sakura was left in the park by Yagyu, but she also saw what the three did, so she was very angry with them. Now that she is not weak, she is also confident to challenge the Chunin exam. By the way, Yagyu, how do you know they are here to take part in the Chunin exam? Sensei Kakashi didn't even tell us. Sakura suddenly asked curiously. Yagyu shook his head, put his finger between his lips and whispered, "Shish, rumors." Sasuke didn't care about any rumors, he just wanted to sign up for the Chunin exam and fight Gaara. Come on, let's go find Kakashi and sign up for this year's Chunin exam. Teacher, this is roughly the situation. A few genin in Konoha have such strength. I'm afraid this operation will not be so easy. After returning to the residence, Temari informed Maki of the situation just now and expressed her concerns. But Maki was a little skeptical. Kankuro, Gaara, is it really as Temari said? Temari is the most stable of the three and the disciple that Maki trusts the most, so he shouldn't doubt what Temari said. But the matter is too unbelievable. A genin whose strength is not weaker than Gaara, a genin whose strength is mysterious and unfathomable, and a genius who can use advanced ninjutsu without graduating from the ninja school. This is just a corner of Konoha. Who knows how many powerful people Konoha hides? Teacher, it is exactly as Temari said. That guy named Gecko Yagyu just looked at me, and I felt like I was going to die. Kankuro said with lingering fear. Gaara also nodded and responded. That Gecko Yagyu is indeed terrifying, his speed is faster than anyone I have ever seen. Everyone, naturally including Maki. This means that Yagyu's speed has surpassed the category of elite jonin. Maki was also a little solemn when he heard this. If Konoha is really as full of hidden talents as you say, we may need to think long and hard about this operation. However, this matter was decided by the Kazekage-sama, and our ideas may not be able to change his decision. The most important thing is that many of our companions have quietly sneaked into the land of fire, and the arrow is ready to be launched. After thinking for a while, Maki finally didn't dare to bother Luasha about this matter. If he was frightened by two genin and a kid who hadn't graduated and tried to persuade Luasha to give up the plan, he was afraid that things would not go as he wished, and he would be scolded by Luasha. If that happened, he would not only fail to accomplish the task, but also get a lot of horse fleas. I will ask Orochimaru for information about those people. As for the plan, you just need to complete your tasks. If you encounter those guys in the Chunin exam, try not to confront them head-on. The plan cannot go wrong, otherwise you know what Kazekage-sama is doing. Got it, teacher. ×2. Gaara didn't answer. Maki looked at him and said, Gaara, don't ruin the plan. Gaara looked at Maki coldly, and after a moment of silence, he still responded coldly. No. On the other side, Sasuke was talking about going to find Kakashi, and Kakashi came up on his own. Oh, we are together now, Kakashi said, smiling at the three of them. Kakashi, We are going to take part in the Chunin exam this year. Sasuke said. Oh, did you already know? Kakashi was a little surprised, but he didn't think much about it. Although the list of the Chunin exam was just confirmed, it was actually planned long ago. Not to mention that Sasuke and his people were from the village, even people from other villages knew about the Chunin exam being held in Konoha a few months ago. Since you already know, I will tell you straight away. I have registered you for the Chunin exam. The exam will be held in 3 days. What, have you signed up already? Although Sakura was confident about taking part in the Chunin exam, she was still a little nervous after actually signing up. Well, don't be nervous, I believe you can pass the exam with your strength. Kakashi encouraged Sakura with a smile. Because the three of them are much stronger than in the original, Kakashi did not test Sakura's determination as in the original. In the original, Sakura's strength was not enough to pass the Chunin exam, but now she has a great chance. In the end, even if Sakura did not pass the exam, Kakashi thought that Sakura should take this exam to train herself. With different strengths, Kakashi's expectations of her are also different. We will do our best. Sakura clenched her fists and encouraged herself secretly, but she was very excited inside. Come on, Sakura, you can do it. Oh, are you going to take part in the Chunin exam? Naruto ran over excitedly and heard the conversation of the 4 people. If I graduate this year, I can also take part in this Chunin exam, right? Naruto thought to himself. Who are you, Naruto? Right, I heard that you've been learning ninjutsu from Yagyu recently. I hope you can pass the ninja exam next year. Kakashi looked at Uzumaki Naruto and said with a smile. He has always known that Naruto is the child of the 4th generation, but due to his status as a Jinchuriki, he cannot have too much contact with him. Not only does his status not allow him, the 3rd generation does not allow him to contact Naruto. Even silently paying attention and providing help are not allowed. After all, Naruto is always monitored by the Anbu. Although he has the strength of an elite Jonin, he dare not say that he can avoid the perception of all Anbu ninjas. In order not to cause misunderstandings from the 3rd generation, he can only do his duty. And he also believes that the 3rd generation will make arrangements for Naruto. After all, Naruto is the child of the 4th generation, and the 3rd generation should not treat him badly, right? Thank you, Uncle. Uncle, the corner of Kakashi's mouth twitched. Do I look that old? Uncle, you are the guiding Jonin of Yagyu and the others, right? Then you must be better than Yagyu and the others. When I graduate and surpass Yagyu and the others, I will surpass you. I want to surpass everyone and become the Hokage. Kakashi was stunned for a moment. For some reason, he just saw the shadow of Obito in Naruto. An illusory figure appeared beside Naruto, and the smiles of the two overlapped as if they were one person. If Obito hadn't died, he should have realized his dream soon, right? Kakashi thought. Come on. Kakashi didn't hit Naruto's confidence like others did, nor did he give any advice. Instead, he smiled and encouraged Naruto. In fact, people don't need advice from others in their lives. If you don't experience it, you will never know whether this thing is right or wrong for you. Come on, I will try my best. Naruto scratched the back of his head, showing his mouth full of white teeth, smiling foolishly. The next day, facing the Chunin exam 2 days later, Sakura was still a little worried. So she found Yagyu and asked him to give her special training. At the waterfall in the back mountain, Sakura, dressed in tight clothes, jumped and danced among the stones holding the long sword given to her by Yagyu. The flashing of swords and sabers flashed in the noisy sound of the waterfall. If you ignore her long hair wet and twisted by the waterfall water, I am afraid that everyone who sees her will say, "What a heroic female swordsman." Secret technique. Moon shadow. With Sakura appearing on the other side of the waterfall in an instant, she cut down a splash of water, and Sakura's swordsmanship training officially ended. How is it, Yagyu-kun? Sakura looked at Yagyu-kun, who was watching her practice with excitement and nervousness. It's not bad if she's not new to it, but her swordsmanship is still a lot worse than Sasuke's. You haven't mastered the crescent moon dance yet, have you? Yagyu pointed out Sakura's strengths and weaknesses while tidying up her messy hair. Tie your hair up. Long hair hanging on your shoulders will affect your fighting. In some battles with big movements, your hair may block your vision. Sakura nodded obediently and said a little embarrassedly, I know, Yagayu-kun. Well, have you practiced the shadow clone technique? Practiced. Okay, now you have to use your shadow clones to practice swordsmanship, and try to coordinate with the two shadow clones. The technique of the 3-day moon dance is not difficult. One is superb swordsmanship, one is proficient shadow clone skills, and the other is to coordinate with the shadow clones to achieve the effect of 1 + 1 + 1 greater than 3. Of course, coordinating with the moon and sunlight is the most basic thing in this swordsmanship. As long as the above 3 conditions are met, it is not difficult to do these. I understand, Yagayu-kun. Sakura nodded, and then split into 2 shadow clones to practice swordsmanship. However, it seemed that because they did not know how to coordinate swordsmanship, the 3 Sakura performed swordsmanship in the waterfall, which was a bit ridiculous. If she was given an opponent of the same level, Sakura would mess up some familiar swordsmanship. Seeing this, Yagayu split a shadow clone and came to the middle of the 3 Sakura. You 3 should separate first, and then attack me from different angles. Yagayu planned to use the feeding method to let Sakura and her shadow clones master the coordination skills. Of course, the most important thing is Sakura's original body. As long as Sakura's original body knows how to coordinate the swordsmanship of 3 people, then her future shadow clones will naturally know how to coordinate with Sakura to perform moves. However, it is not an easy task to practice the swordsmanship of 3 people. What's more, Sakura's swordsmanship talent is average, and there has been no obvious improvement in the past 2 days. Take a break. We will check your practice of Rasengan later. While there is still some time, Yagayu plans to take a look at Sakura's Rasengan practice results. After all, it is impossible to successfully practice the crescent dance in a few days. Sakura, who was tired and panting, released the 2 shadow clones, put down the knife in her hand and breathed in the fresh air. Sweat and waterfall water soaked her clothes, making them more fitting, highlighting her not-so-impressive figure. Compared with the previous 2 days, Sakura's hair is now tied up and her face has become much tougher. The pink hairband is pinned on the back of her head, tying up her long hair. Even if the splashing waterfall water wets her long hair, she doesn't look embarrassed, but rather has a heroic beauty. In just 2 days, Sakura's strength has not improved much, but her temperament has changed a lot. If someone who is familiar with Sakura sees her at this time, I'm afraid they will be startled and ask, "Are you Sakura?" 2 minutes later, Sakura, who felt that she had rested well, stood up and said with a firm look in her eyes, "I'm ready, Yagayu-kun. Use the Rasengan to attack the stone in front of you," Yagayu ordered. Sakura nodded, and concentrated chakra with one hand while moving the other hand irregularly. Soon a rotating chakra ball formed in Sakura's hand. "Ha!" Sakura shouted, and the Rasengan hit a large stone hard. The next moment, a complete circular hole appeared on the stone. Another light tap, and the stone shattered. The stone that looked intact on the outside had already been damaged and shattered. Although Sakura's talent in swordsmanship is average, and her talent in the 5-attribute ninjutsu is also average, her talent in non-attribute ninjutsu is still good. Even if she hasn't practiced for a long time, the Rasengan is getting more and more exquisite in her hands. It should be difficult to meet an opponent in tomorrow's Chunin exam. As long as you are careful of some ninjas who are good at using dirty tricks, and don't fight against Gaara, Neji, and Rock Lee, Sakura is basically invincible. Gaara's strength is firmly above that of a Jonin, and he also has the chakra and self-healing ability given by the one-tailed Shukaku. Sakura can only fight him with a record similar to that of Sasuke in the original work. Although Nechi at this stage does not have a move comparable to the Rasengan, he restrains Sakura with one hand. If you can't get close, Sakura's Rasengan can only be worn out by his Kaden. As for Rock Lee, this guy doesn't seem to hit women. Sakura may not lose against him. But if Rock Lee opens all 6 gates and goes all out, Sakura is no match. Sakura still has a disadvantage in terms of speed. The physical fitness of Neji, Gaara and Rock Lee have reached the level of Jonin, while Sakura is still at the level of Chunin. This gap is difficult to make up in a short time. Except for Sasuke and Naruto, who occasionally cheat. Keep in good shape, this Chunin exam won't be too difficult for you. Yagayu straightened Sakura's clothes and patted her on the shoulder to encourage her. Sakura's 5 attribute talents were average, and unless she learned Senjutsu, it would be difficult for her to make a greater breakthrough in Rasengan. Even if Yagyu taught Sakura the combined ninjutsu of Fire Release and Rasengan Flame, she would not be able to learn it. So after testing Sakura's level in Rasengan, he ended the 3-day special training. Yeah, thank you for helping me practice for the past 3 days. Yagyu-kun. Yagyu touched Sakura's head lovingly, and then teased, just consider it as compensation for your serving me every day. Usually, whether it is practice or mission, Sakura will serve Yagyu at all times. Rubbing shoulders and feeding him make Yagyu live a fairy-like life. Sakura snorted and said proudly, in this case, 3 days will not be enough. Oh, how many days do you want? You have to teach me how to practice for at least a month. A month? I'll be exhausted to death. Lu Sheng said in an exaggerated manner. You are tired after practicing for a month. You are too lazy. I don't know how you practiced all these years. You are lazier than anyone else, but you are stronger than anyone else. Even Kakashi is not your opponent. Well, geniuses are always different. Yes, my great genius, can you carry me back to the village? My legs are so sore. This is just the first time, never again. Chapter 71. Since graduating from Konoha Ninja School, Yagyu has not been here again. Because the first written test of the Chunin exam was held here, Yagyu and his friends came to this school again. I haven't been back since graduation, and I miss this place. Sakura said with emotion. Yagyu yawned, and several memories of the ninja school flashed through his mind. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart that time was passing. Speaking of which, he will die too, right? For the first time, Yagyu felt the urgency of life. Let's go. Yagyu and his team came here on time. If they still dawdle outside the school gate, by the time they arrive, the exam may have already begun. There is no more ridiculous way to be eliminated than being eliminated before the exam begins. After passing through the school gate and the corridor of the classroom, the 7th team just arrived on the 2nd floor and saw a group of candidates crowded around the stairs. Yagyu still had some impression of a few of them. One was Hyuga Neji, a genius from the branch of the Hyuga clan, who had a cold face and looked a bit like Sasuke. One was Tenten, who was wearing traditional Chinese clothes and had a bun on her head. There was also Rock Lee, who was wearing a green tights and pretending to be weak and was being bullied. Yagyu looked at the group of people who were dawdling and didn't want to follow the plot with them. He took Sakura and Sasuke to the crowd and released his murderous intent. The terrifying pressure filled the hearts of all the candidates in an instant. Even the 2 Chunins who were guarding the door and bullying the newcomers felt suffocating fear. It's really a nuisance, Yagyu muttered in disdain, and without even looking at them, he broke through their blockade and headed for the 3rd floor. After a while, when Yagyu and the others were completely far away, everyone breathed heavily as if relieved. Good. How scary. Who is that guy? Tiantian said with lingering fear. This year's top graduate, Gekko Yagyu. Rock Lee said unwillingly, I originally wanted to fight him in this Chunin exam, but he forced us into this state with his murderous aura. Is there really such a big gap between ordinary people and geniuses? Ningji said nothing. The cold sweat on his forehead and his clenched fists also showed that he was not calm inside. This guy is so strong. This is the first time that Nechi feels unconfident about his own strength, and it's from a guy who has only graduated for less than a year. Ningji, are you his opponent? Tenten looked at Nechi and asked curiously. Nechi shook his head and said frankly, I'm not his opponent. Unlike Sasuke and Naruto, who are confident that they have a chance to defeat each other even though they know the gap in strength is too big, Neji can face the reality more clearly. If he is not strong enough, he will not waste his energy on meaningless struggles, nor will he try to be strong for the sake of face. If he meets Yagyu in the Chunin exam, he will admit defeat without hesitation. Even Neji admitted that he was no match for that guy. This year's graduating class leader is really a pervert, Tenten said with some surprise and sadness. She originally thought that after a year of training, they would definitely be the strongest genin team, but she didn't expect that there would be a master. At this time, Rock Lee, who had been hit, had been revived with full blood. Yoshi, since even Neji can't beat him, let me beat him. Burn, youth. Rock Lee rushed to the second floor, and his speed was so fast that even the two Chunins guarding the door couldn't react. Is this the genin kid who was just bullied by us? Looking at the passionate Rock Lee, Tenten also regained some confidence. Even if we can't beat that pervert, we are not weak. Right, Neji, Tenten said with a smile, as if he wanted to cheer himself up in this way. Neji didn't care much about this kind of thing. Strong is strong, weak is weak, everything is arranged by fate. Let's go. The next moment, the two of them also showed unusual speed and disappeared from the spot. The candidates who had not yet entered the venue were so shocked that they were speechless for a while, and soon they scattered. This opponent is so abnormal, it's better not to take this exam. The candidates this year are really abnormal. That Gecko Yagayu is even more terrifying than Asuma Jonin. Don't you agree, Azumo? Gang Ziti said. Ah, I heard that Uchiha Sasuke is also very powerful. If it weren't for Gecko Yagayu, this year's top graduate should have been Uchiha Sasuke. Kamizuki Azumo replied. Gecko Yagayu, Uchiha Yagayu, Hyuga Neji. This Chunin exam is really a fierce competition. It seems to be more exciting than any previous Chunin exam. The two came here under the order of Morino Ibiki to eliminate some weak candidates. Unexpectedly, they met such a terrible guy. If they didn't know that the other party was here to take the exam, they almost confessed their will. Let's go. We have almost stopped the weak ones. Those who can still make it later will be lucky. Well, I think Ibiki is getting impatient. After watching those genin who couldn't even see the basic illusion being scared away, the two Chunin also completed their mission and went back to report to Morino Ibiki. At this time, Yagayu and the others were still on their way to the third floor, but a boy wearing a weird green tights stopped them. Sorry to bother you. Looking at Rock Lee who was rushing to block him, Yagayu frowned. There was not much time left for the exam, and he didn't want to give Rock Lee and Sasuke a chance to fight like in the original novel. What's the matter? Yoyoshi's cold voice made Rock Lee feel like his heart was frozen, but he was in love and quickly used his chakra to break through the coldness. I want to confess my love to this lovely lady. Bang! Before Rock Lee could finish his words, he had already flown more than 10 meters away and smashed into the wall, buried by a pile of dirt. But Yagayu didn't even look at him, and said to the two companions behind him, "Let's go, ignore this idiot." The three of them were about to continue on their way, but before they had taken 2 steps, a sound came from the wall beside them. Wait a minute. Rock Lee, with some scars all over his body and looking a little embarrassed, came out from the wall and stood in front of Yagayu and the others again. I can see that you are very protective of her, Gecko Yagayu. Excuse me, are you her partner? Rock Lee asked seriously. If Yagayu answered yes, he would leave without saying anything. But if not, Yagayu would just be his rival in love. At that time, no matter how powerful Yagayu was, he would fight for his love. Even if he had to open the 8 gates. The atmosphere froze for a few seconds, and just when Yagayu was about to speak, Neji and the others rushed over. Lee, forget it. You have no chance of winning against him, Neji advised. Even so, I will fight him. This is a man's contest, please don't stop me. Rock Lee's face was firm, and his whole body was emitting chakra flames. The breath of youth was burning around him. Even if you want to fight him, it's better to compete with him during the exam. If you are defeated here, we can't participate in the Chunin exam, idiot. Neji speechlessly complained about this hot-blooded boy who had the same temperament as his teacher. He would act recklessly when encountering problems, and didn't care about the life and death of his teammates at all. The Chunin exam requires 3 people to participate. If Rock Lee was beaten by Yagayu here, they really couldn't participate in the Chunin exam. After Nechi's reminder, Rock Lee also woke up. Although he was not afraid of fighting with Yagayu, he had no confidence in winning. If he opened the 8 gates, he would definitely not be able to recover before the end of this Chunin exam. Thinking that he was actually like this. Ignoring the collective interests, Rock Lee apologized to his companions with an apologetic look on his face. I'm sorry, I'm too selfish. I will come to a conclusion with Yagayu-kun during the Chunin exam. Just when everything seemed to stop, Sakura stood up. Hey, can you please stop making decisions on your own? The classmate in the green tights, I don't like you, please stop pestering Yagayu-kun, okay? After being scolded by Sakura, Rock Lee felt that his life suddenly collapsed. His love affair seemed to be over before it even began. That, as long as you are willing to be with me, I will protect you even at the cost of my life. You can't beat Yagyu-kun, and you're not as good looking as Yagyu-kun. What right do you have to be with me? And what right do you have to protect me? With my sincere heart, Rock Lee said seriously. Sakura rolled her eyes. Is sincerity good looking? Can sincerity be eaten? Can sincerity protect me? Okay, don't bother us anymore, otherwise I will beat him into a pig's head without Yagyu-kun's help. After that, Sakura followed Yagyu and the others and left. This time Rock Lee didn't bother Yagyu anymore, but just stood there blankly, unable to come back to his senses for a long time. Suddenly, a sentence came to his ear. That person's eyebrows are so thick and ugly. Thick eyebrows. So ugly. The 6 words spun in Rock Lee's mind, and finally petrified him. Tiantian came to Rock Lee with a sigh, patted Rock Lee on the shoulder, and persuaded, okay, don't bother me if I don't like you. Besides, you are not the opponent of Moonlight Yagyu, and you are not as good looking as him. It will only bring humiliation to yourself to compete with him for his girlfriend. Rock Lee looked hopeless. Are you trying to comfort someone? Your companion is in the pain of a broken heart, and you actually said something like this. Have you ever considered the feelings of a person who has been heartbroken? If you continue to be in a daze here, we won't have to participate in this Chunin exam. Ninki came to Rock Lee and said coldly. Thinking of the Chunin exam, Rock Lee instantly revived with full health. Yoshi, even though I can't get Sakura's love, I still want to prove the result of my hard work to Gecko Yagyu. I will prove to Sakura that I can protect him. I know, but if you don't leave quickly, the exam registration deadline will be approaching. You won't be able to fight Gecko Yagyu in the Chunin exams. The waiting room for the first exam of the Chunin exam was already crowded when Yagyu and his friends entered. More than 100 genin from various ninja villages were crowded in a room, but no one was communicating. It was unusually quiet. The arrival of Yagyu and his friends was like a drop of water falling into a river, without any ripples. However, despite this, the Yagyu and his friends' appearance so late still attracted the attention of a large number of ninjas from other countries. More than 200 pairs of eyes stared at the Yagyu and his friends, giving people an inexplicable pressure. Just when Sakura was nervous and at a loss, a familiar voice sounded in her ears. Yagyu-kun. A girl with light yellow hair suddenly threw herself into Yagyu's arms and pressed Yagyu tightly. I miss you so much. Yagyu smiled slightly, stroked Ino's hair gently, and said, long time no see, Ino. Since graduation, we have had so many tasks that we have no time to look for you. Ino said sadly. If love lasts forever, why would it matter if we were together day and night? Yagyu smiled and said a poem. For Ino and Sakura, who had only learned ninjutsu and history since childhood, such a sentence gave them a great shock. If the love between two people lasts for a long time, and it's morning and evening, the two of them murmured, constantly recalling the meaning of this sentence in their hearts. And the more they savored it, the more surprised they were at Yagyu's talent. They didn't expect that Yagyu was not only handsome and powerful, but also so talented in writing poetry. He could write poems as soon as he spoke. I already liked Yagyu-kun, and now I like him even more. At this time, Ino's companions Shikamaru and Choji came over. Shikamaru, who was afraid of trouble, was afraid that Ino's behavior would attract the attention of dangerous guys, and persuaded her helplessly, hey, Ino, can you be a little reserved? We are at the venue of the Chunin exam. Be careful not to attract the attention of a group of guys who are not easy to mess with if you are so careless. What do you care about me? Ino retorted mercilessly. If I were outside, I would still be afraid of them, but this is in Konoha. I have Yagyu-kun protecting me, why should I be afraid of them? Shikamaru sighed and raised his hand to surrender. Yagyu's image in the class has always been invincible. Even after graduation, Shikamaru still felt that few people could defeat Yagyu. If you can hold on to Gecko Yagyu's thighs in this Chunin exam, it won't be easy to be eliminated. Choji chewed snacks and interrupted, yeah, with Yagyu here, we are not afraid of anyone. Shikamaru, what are you afraid of? Shikamaru, I looked around at the dangerous ninjas from various villages. Even if Gecko Yagyu is invincible among genin, it's hard to say whether he can stand up against hundreds of genin. Keep a low profile. Keep a low profile. Why doesn't anyone understand my efforts? Long time no see everyone. Woof. With a dog barking, the last class of freshmen appeared. Class 8 Inazuka Kiba, Aburame Shino, Hyuga Hinata. A group of old classmates who hadn't seen each other for a long time met and immediately turned the solemn Chunin exam venue into a class reunion. The lively noise was like a vegetable market. Long time no see, Hinata. Well, long time no see, Yagayu-kun. Hinata was still as shy as ever, and Akamaru was still as afraid of Yagayu as ever. Everything seemed to have returned to the time when they were in school. At this time, a man with black-framed glasses came over and advised the 9 people, "I think you'd better be quiet. You are newcomers who just graduated from the ninja school, right?" 9 freshly baked newcomers, noisy as if they were shopping in the vegetable market. Seeing that it was Kabuto Yakushi, Yagayu looked at him twice more. As one of the bosses who broke out in the late ninja world, Kabuto Yakushi's talent are unquestionable. If he also wanted to study immortality, having Kabuto Yakushi's assistance would undoubtedly be a timely help. However, he is loyal to Orochimaru, and cooperating with Orochimaru might be courting disaster. The best way is to master Izanami and change the obsession of the two. I don't know if the system will return Sasuke and Naruto's vitality 100-fold to themselves. After all, even knowledge and talent can be returned 100-fold. Who are you? Why do you care about us? Ino, who had a hot temper, said angrily to Kabuto Yakushi. Seeing Ino was angry, Kabuto Yakushi no longer spoke like a senior, but turned gentle, smiled and said, "My name is Kabuto Yakushi. Instead of this, I think you'd better take a look around first." Hearing this, except for Yagayu, everyone else looked around. A group of candidates from various ninja villages were staring at them covetously. Shikamaru covered his face and said, "I knew it would be like this. I guess a lot of people will stare at us now." Shikamaru was worried, but Ino didn't take it seriously. With his hands on his hips, he came directly to the crowd and greeted arrogantly, "Why are you looking at us? Haven't you seen handsome men and beautiful women? Kabuto Yakushi, shouldn't the script be like this?" Before Kabuto Yakushi could advise, the Otogakur ninja who was originally arranged to cooperate with him had already taken action. A blurry figure kept moving in the crowd, weaving through the crowd, and appeared in front of Ino in an instant. Ino didn't move at all, as if she didn't notice it at all, but there was a smile on the corner of her mouth, as if she was not worried about being hit at all. Bang! With a loud bang, a figure flew out and smashed into the wall. Everyone looked closely and saw that Ino was still standing there, and the person who attacked her had disappeared. Obviously, the person who was smashed into the wall by the unknown attack was the Otogakur ninja who was responsible for cooperating with Kabuto Yakushi in the exercise. Toss. Seeing their companion being knocked away by a move, the 2 companions cried out in surprise. They seemed to have not expected this to happen at all. When they dug up the rubble, they only dug out a disheveled body that had lost consciousness. If it weren't for the feeling of his breath, people would have thought he was dead. Is this woman so powerful? Almost everyone didn't see who did it, and they just thought it was the woman who provoked everyone. Therefore, many people silently remembered the appearance of this woman in their hearts, thinking that they must not confront this person head-on when they met her in the Chunin exam. Unlike most people, Kabuto Yakushi, Neji Hyuga, Rock Lee, and Gaara saw clearly who really did it. They just saw clearly or vaguely that Gecko Yagayu threw out a ninjutsu attack similar to Wind Escape without forming a seal, and then Toss flew out, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The strength of this man, so terrifying. As expected of the top graduate, his strength is really terrifying. Yakushi Kabuto pushed his glasses and said to Yagayu jokingly, "It seems that you know me very well." Yagayu smiled slightly and asked Kabuto Yakushi. It is well known that Kabuto Yakushi has been lurking in Konoha for many years and his intelligence ability is unparalleled. Yagayu is also very curious about the extent to which Kabuto Yakushi has collected intelligence on him. "I can't say I know them very well, but I know them to some extent." The lens in Kabuto Yakushi's eyes flashed, and then he took out a pile of cards and said, "I have participated in many Chunin exams, so I have developed the habit of collecting information about my opponents. These cards record the information of all the genin who participated in this Chunin exam. Including yours. Oh, would you mind showing it to me? Of course, no problem. Yakushi Kabuto smiled slightly, like a harmless senior, and then he took out a card from more than 100 cards and handed it to Yagayu. Name: Gecko Yagayu. Gender: male. Age: 12. Strength: a peerless genius who is good at swordsmanship and fire escape, the chief graduate of this year's ninja school, who has completed 23 D-level tasks, 16 C-level tasks, and 9 B-level tasks. Oh, even my marital status is marked. Yagayu smiled, but his expression was a little dangerous. With his current strength, he was not afraid of someone plotting against him. But if it involves the people around him, he can't protect them in real time. So he didn't like what Kabuto Yakushi did. Although Kabuto Yakushi didn't mark too many details, a marital status can show that Kabuto Yakushi should have investigated the people around him, but he didn't record it on the card. At this time, Kabuto Yakushi felt an invisible murderous intent invading his brain. The blood and flesh all over his body became extremely cold. He had felt that feeling in Lord Orochimaru, who showed murderous intent. Is this guy more terrifying than Lord Orochimaru? Kabuto Yakushi tried to keep himself awake and made seals with his hands. He didn't believe that Yagayu's strength at this age could be comparable to that of Lord Orochimaru. Lord Orochimaru, the reason why he can exert such pressure on him is probably because he has mastered some incredible illusion. I must have been caught unconsciously. But after the hand seal was over, the chakra running wild in his body could not make him return to normal. This is not an illusion. Kabuto Yakushi felt like a goat falling into the bottom of the abyss. What kind of existence did Lord Orochimaru target? The reason why he investigated Yagayu so thoroughly, in addition to his own talent, was also because of Orochimaru's instructions. Although Orochimaru is quite obsessed with Uchiha's Sharingan, he also likes geniuses. If the matter of Sharingan is impossible, it is not a bad idea to choose the body of an unparalleled genius as a container. And Gecko Yagayu, who is more talented than Uchiha Sasuke, naturally fell into Orochimaru's eyes. Just when Kabuto Yakushi was in despair, the killing intent from Yagayu suddenly disappeared. A card was stuffed into Kabuto Yakushi's arms, and the devil whispered in his ear, "Remember to add information to the card next time. This person cannot be provoked, understand?" Kabuto Yakushi, sweating profusely, nodded cautiously, "Got it." He felt that if he dared to disobey Yagayu at this time, he would dare to kill him even in front of many ninjas. This guy is a lunatic. But Yagayu, a lunatic, is a bad thing, but also a good thing. Because a lunatic means that Yagayu is a person who does not follow the rules, and he should not have a sense of belonging to Konoha. At that time, even if Yagayu cannot be collected as a container, he can cooperate with him. After Yagayu walked away, others also noticed something wrong. But they didn't know what was wrong. Just looking at Kabuto Yakushi sweating profusely, several people were quite confused. Did Yagayu's information card scare him? Uchiha Sasuke came to Kabuto Yakushi with some doubts and took away the information card about Yagayu. The information was pretty much the same, but there wasn't much recorded in it, not even as much as what Sakura and I knew about Yagayu. He immediately lost interest. He looked at his own data card, Hyuga Neji's data card, and Gaara's data card. Name: Uchiha Sasuke. Gender: male. Age: 12. Strength: good at fire escape, swordsmanship, and eye-catching techniques. Since graduation, he has completed 23 D-level missions, 16 C-level missions, and 9 B-level missions. Name: Hyuga Neji. Gender: male. Age: 13. Strength: the top graduate of the previous year, good at the Hyuga clan's physical skills, has completed 46 D-level tasks, 10 C-level tasks, and 1 B-level task since graduation. Name: Gaara. Gender: male. Age: 12. Strength: he has completed B-level missions alone, and his strength is unfathomable. Whether it is Neji or Gaara, the information cards of both are not as dazzling as those of Sasuke and Yagayu. Just looking at these information, you can't see anything at all. So Sasuke was even less interested in Kabuto Yakushi. A loser who uses his mind on meaningless things. This is Sasuke's evaluation of Kabuto Yakushi in his heart. Because he did not leave a good impression in the hearts of Sasuke and Yagyu, Kabuto Yakushi's action this time was considered a failure. And because Toss fainted, I am afraid that the insider arranged by Lord Orochimaru for him in this Chunin exam will no longer exist. The Chunin exam requires 3 people to participate together, leaving only Sakusumi and Kintsuchi who are bound to withdraw. It seems that my task will be even more arduous. Yakushi Kabuto looked at Yagyu who was laughing and talking happily with Sakura, Ino, and Hinata, and sighed deeply in his heart. With such a powerful guy, it would be difficult for Orochimaru to plant the curse on the 2 of them. It's better to change the plan. Yakushi Kabuto fell into deep thought. The only good news now is that his identity has not been exposed. He can continue to lurk among the Konoha ninjas. Soon, Morino Ibiki, who had been observing secretly, walked out of the examination room. He ignored the Otogakur ninja who had just been taught a lesson, and said to all the examinees, "The examination has begun, all examinees enter the examination room." No one spoke up for the Otogakur ninja, and no one cared about the Chunin exams of several Otogakur genin. Even their own people had no intention of seeking justice. Toss was killed in one move, and even if the 2 of them attacked together, they would only be seeking death. As for causing trouble in Konoha, Yagyu and Sasuke are both targets of Orochimaru. If they are killed, they will be sacrificed to Orochimaru for the impure world reincarnation when they go back. So even if Toss is dead, Konoha completely ignores their existence, and they dare not say anything. The candidates entered the examination room one by one. When it was Yagyu's turn, Morino Ibiki pulled him and said, "This exam is a literary exam, don't make a fuss. Fortunately, it's just a genin from the Sound Village this time, and we don't care about their opinions, but if those big ninja villages make trouble, it's not easy for us to take sides." Yagyu glanced at Ibiki and walked into the examination room without saying a word. He completely ignored Morino Ibiki's plea. If no one provokes him, he won't do anything. But if someone is looking for death, he won't let him live in this world for one more second. Although Toss is not dead now, there is no cure for him if he goes back, and he will die for sure. Morino Ibiki was a little angry when he saw Yagyu ignoring him, but thinking of the other party's talent and strength, he couldn't do anything. As for giving the other party a hard time in the Chunin exam, the Sanda was still counting on Gekko Yagyu to quickly be promoted to a Jonin and become his right-hand man. How could he interfere with the Sanda's plan? Ibiki sighed helplessly, then restored his serious face. The next exam is not a simple literary exam. He needs to control his facial expressions. In the examination room, all the candidates sat in dispersed positions. Next to Yagyu sat Hinata, and the 2 chatted with each other. Most of the time, Yagyu was talking and Hinata was listening. Some ordinary words made Hinata's cheeks blush. At this time, Morino Ibiki came in with a group of Chunin invigilators. Ibiki stood at the top of the podium, and the Chunins came to the wall and sat down one by one, monitoring the candidates' every move. Many candidates who took the Chunin exam for the first time had never seen such a scene, and they became very nervous for a while. And soon, they will have a new understanding of the cruelty of this exam. Next, Ibiki explained the rules of the exam. This exam adopted a deduction mechanism. Everyone started with 10 points. 1 point was deducted for each wrong answer and 2 points for each cheating. When a candidate's points were deducted, the team that the candidate belonged to would be eliminated. The cruelty was terrifying. However, no matter how dissatisfied the candidates were, they could not protest. After all, this was Konoha, and the invigilator was not their relative. Everyone had to obey. As the test papers were handed out to each candidate, countless candidates began to wail in their hearts. They also did a lot of liberal arts review before the exam, but they didn't expect the questions of this Chunin exam to be so difficult. After a rough scan of the 9 questions on the test paper, they didn't know any of them. The scope of the exam is obviously the same every year, so why is it so difficult this year? Countless math scumbags began to be at a loss, their eyes uncontrollably looking around. But they found that someone was writing the answers to such difficult questions seriously. What should I do? I want to cheat. The content of this exam is indeed not easy. Even if Yagyu spent some time, he only answered 5 questions. There are still 4 questions that he may not be able to do, but he doesn't want to do them. After all, this exam is not really about theoretical knowledge, but psychology. As long as you don't quit at the last question, almost everyone can pass the exam. There is no point in continuing to spend time on these questions. It's better to be idle. == Although the test questions were difficult, they were not difficult for Lu Sheng and his friends. They could answer most of them without cheating. However, this test was not about grades, but about skills and psychological quality. Lu Sheng symbolically answered a few questions and then stopped. Anyway, there was no point in doing more, so he might as well be idle with the poor students O_O. In the following time, many candidates were eliminated one after another. The reason they were eliminated was because of their poor cheating methods, such as peeking or cheating, which was as clumsy as elementary school students cheating, making Ibiki want to slap them to death. You have studied in ninja school for so many years, and graduated from ninja school for so many years, and you have only learned this little. Have you lived like a dog these years? Soon there were less than 100 people left in the examination room. In the cheating elimination just now, at least a dozen people were eliminated because of their poor cheating methods. And at least more than 30 people were eliminated because of their teammates. This incident tells us how important it is to have an excellent teammate. Yagayu-kun, can't you do it? Do you want to copy mine? Yagayu was in a daze, and suddenly heard Hinata's voice. He glanced at her casually and found that Hinata wanted to pass her answer to him. You are a very nice person. Yagayu smiled slightly, shook his head and said, No, thank you, Hinata. I can do it, you don't have to worry about me. Yeah, Hinata nodded obediently and took the test paper back silently. She believed in Yagayu's ability. After all, when Yagayu was in school, he always ranked first in every subject. There was no reason why Yagayu couldn't do the questions that she could do. As for why she gave the answers to Yagayu just now, it was mainly because she saw that Yagayu didn't move and thought that Yagayu had just forgotten the answers. Now she thought that she was overthinking. Time is up, stop writing. Ibiki's voice brought the dazed Lu Sheng back to his senses. Now, as long as no one in the team gives up, this exam will be over. Next I will announce the question for question 10. But before we do question 10, there is a new rule. If you choose to answer question 10 but fail to answer it, I'm sorry, you will never be able to take part in the Chunin exam. Hearing such exam rules, many candidates could not accept it. Many people began to collapse when they thought that they might not be able to become a Chunin in their lifetime. Yagayu was bored watching Ibiki's performance on the stage. Can never take part in the Chunin exam. Just because of a word from you, Morino Ibiki. Or is it the sign of Konoha being a soft persimmon? Even if this rule is true and not a test of the ninja's psychological quality, Yagayu does not think that this rule can accompany a ninja throughout his life. Just like himself, with the strength of a cage, even if he doesn't want to be a Chunin, the third generation will beg him to be one. Fear, just because of your lack of strength. Almost half an hour later, the sun showed signs of setting. Yagayu looked at the sunset outside the window hitting the school playground, where some eliminated genin were walking unwillingly towards the outside of the school gate step by step. They gave up, not only this exam, but also the firm belief in their hearts. Coward. This word may accompany many people throughout their lives. At this time, there were less than 50 people left in the entire examination room. More than 30 fewer people passed the first exam in the original book. Surprisingly, as the person with the largest number of people taking this exam, Konoha, which has a large population, is the one with the most eliminated people. The next is Sand Village and some small ninja villages that are attached to Konoha. Being born as Konoha ninjas, they have more pressure than ninjas from other ninja villages. After all, they were born and raised in Konoha. Some ninjas from other villages may not take Morino Ibiki's rules seriously, but Konoha ninjas absolutely cannot. Therefore, the elimination of Konoha's ninjas can be said to be unexpected and reasonable at most. It's just a small example. The psychological quality of these new generations of Konoha still needs to be strengthened. In addition, for many Sand Village ninjas who retire, Ibiki was also a little surprised. After all, the ninjas of Sand Village should not be scared by this rule. He also didn't believe that there were so many stupid people in Sand Village who thought they would be restricted by Konoha's rules. But many people from Sand Village left. Could it be because the psychological quality of the ninjas of Sand Village was really poor? Ibiki didn't think much about it and just thought it was this reason. He looked at his watch and saw that the time was almost up. He looked at everyone again and it seemed that no one would quit, so he said, "It's almost time. Most of those who should leave have left. Next, I will announce the topic of the 10th question." Finally, the 10th question was announced. Everyone stared at Ibiki intently, especially the ninjas of Konoha who were particularly serious. If they answered this question wrong, they would be genin for life. However, the result that surprised them appeared. They passed the exam. At first, they thought the content of the exam was a review of the content of the ninja school. Later, they thought the exam was about the ninjas' reconnaissance methods. Just when they thought they had figured out the rules of the exam, Morino Ibiki told them, "We are playing with psychology." Unexpectedly, right, hee. The Junin of Konoha has a really dirty heart. Many ninjas who have participated in the Chunin exams many times were disgusted by Morino Ibiki's exam rules. They have never taken such a perverted exam. Yagayu expressed pity for these poor lambs and yawned. At this moment, the window of the classroom suddenly shattered, and a flag was nailed to the blackboard. A woman in fishnet stockings fell from the sky. "I am the examiner of your second exam, Mitarashi Anko, please give me your guidance." Quote. The candidates stared at this female Jonin of Konoha in silence, wondering where this middle school girl ninja came from. Yagayu also looked at this famous beauty in the ninja world with great interest. Before losing the curse seal, few female ninjas could match Red Bean's appearance and figure. After losing the curse seal, she turned into a fat ant a few years later. Yagayu once felt sorry for this. However, compared with other Jonins, this Mitarashi Red Bean seems a little middle school and stupid. This can be seen from her daily words and her desire to die with Orochimaru using the ninjutsu taught by Orochimaru. Moreover, as a special Jonin of Konoha and a former disciple of Orochimaru, she is not steady and cunning at all, and her strength is not outstanding. No wonder she was abandoned by Orochimaru. Ibiki, you did a good job. You managed to get rid of more than half of the useless guys. Hongdu patted Ibiki's shoulder and said with a smile, "I'll leave this place to you. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first." Ibiki left expressionlessly, as if it would be embarrassing to say a few more words to Hongdu. Got it, just leave it to me." Hongdu waved her hand nonchalantly, then showed an excited look. This idiotic look of the middle school students always gave people a feeling that they were difficult to rely on. The second test will be held at the training ground, Death Forest. Don't think you can relax after surviving the first exam, because in the next exam, I will eliminate at least half of you. The threat of eliminating more than half of the people was useless to Yagayu. Looking at the majestic Mitarashi Anko on the podium, Yagayu even felt bored and yawned. Such a special behavior naturally attracted the attention of Mitarashi Anko. She raised her hand and threw a kunai, aiming directly at Yagayu's head. Facing such a thorn, Mitarashi Anko didn't mind giving them a warning one day in advance. But to her surprise, the kunai thrown by her, a senior ninja, was actually caught by the 2 fingers of this candidate. "You almost scratched my handsome cheek, what a close call," Yagayu said calmly with his eyelids drooping, which made it hard to believe that it was such a thrilling thing. Mitarashi Anko naturally didn't believe it either, and even regarded Yagayu's behavior as a provocation. Although he was indeed very handsome and a genin of Konoha, if he lost face in front of the candidates, it would be difficult for tomorrow's exam to go smoothly. So Mitarashi Anko planned to pull out the weeds. It seems that this classmate is very confident in his own ability. I hope you can keep up this state tomorrow. Mitarashi Anko smiled coldly, and her aura suddenly pressed towards Yagayu. According to Mitarashi Anko's idea, such a handsome genin is usually a vase, good-looking but useless. With her aura from fighting on the front line for many years, wouldn't it be easy to scare this little brat to death? But the accident happened again. Mitarashi Anko's proud Jonin murderous intent was useless in front of Yagayu. Facing her murderous intent, Gecko Yagayu still looked indifferent, and even yawned. "Lend me your good words, wash the red beans. My last name is Mitarai. That's about it. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, I'll leave first." Quote. Quote. Mitarashi Anko's confrontation with Yagyu was a complete failure this time. Although the opponent was only a genin, his strength should not be underestimated. The genin's status was comparable to the strength of the jonin. This label reminded Mitarashi Anko of a person, Gecko Yagyu. Are you Moonlight Yagyu? Have you heard my story? Forehead. I've heard of this a little bit. I don't know why. Looking at Yagyu's calm and handsome face, Mitarashi Anko felt that he might not be very smart. Yes, that's right, I am Gecko Yagyu. I heard that your strength is comparable to that of a jonin, but now you are participating in a small chunin exam. Isn't this bullying a child? Mitarashi Anko said jokingly. A group of candidates who had not yet left were furious when they heard Mitarashi Anko's words. What? This guy is as strong as a jonin. How old is this kid? Hey, a jonin taking part in the chunin exam. Are you kidding me? Who can beat him? It's like whoever touches him will die. I protest, Konoha is unfair. The noise was so loud that it made Lu Sheng's ears explode. Shut up. Yagyu's cold voice overwhelmed the whole audience, and all the candidates who were talking and protesting subconsciously shut their mouths. The atmosphere was quiet for a second, and an unconvinced ninja from the Hidden Rain village jumped out and said, "You are a jonin and you are taking part in the chunin exam. You are bullying the weak. Does Konoha still have any shame?" As soon as the man finished speaking, he suddenly disappeared from the spot, and the glass that broke the window disappeared into the horizon. Noisy. Yagyu curled his lips. It was obvious that he had knocked the man away. Except for a few people with the strength of a jonin, no one else saw what happened. But Yagyu's voice still made them guess. Among them were the two companions of the ninja from the Hidden Rain village who was knocked away. They were about to stand up and continue to criticize Yagyu, but when they thought of the fate of their companions, they dared not say much. They were afraid that they would be the next one to be knocked away. So they could only wait and see how the invigilator of Konoha would handle this matter. Since the death of the fourth generation, the third generation of Konoha Hokage succeeded to the throne again. Konoha has always been timid. I believe that Konoha will give me a good explanation. Right. Mitarashi Anko didn't expect such a thing to happen. Gecko Yagyu, a genin, actually dared to knock a candidate from the Hidden Rain village away in front of so many people. It is unknown whether he is dead or alive. But whether it is life or death, the relationship between the Hidden Rain village and Konoha will probably be difficult to maintain. Originally, the other party sent people to Konoha to take the chunin exam as a gesture of friendship. Now the candidate from their own village has passed the test but was beaten half to death by the Konoha ninja. Isn't this a lack of faith? Isn't this bullying the weak? Using power to suppress others? If this matter is not handled well, I am afraid that not many small villages will establish friendly relations with Konoha in the future. Fortunately, the Hidden Rain village is just a small village, and they should be able to be appeased by compensating them with some money. If the Hidden Rain village is as powerful as the Hidden Cloud village, Konoha will probably have to pay with Yagyu's life. Mitarashi Anko didn't know that Yagyu had killed the genin of the Hidden Sound village before taking the exam, otherwise she would definitely suggest to the third generation that Yagyu withdraw from the chunin exam and directly arrange for him to be promoted to chunin. Isn't this a pure troublemaker? Mitarashi Anko thought for a while, then said with a morbid face, "Very good, 3 more wastes have been eliminated and there are 40 left. Who cares? See you tomorrow. Don't forget the Forest of Death. Being late will also count as elimination." Rain Ninja A. Rain Ninja B. Seeing that Konoha's jonin had fled without doing anything, the 2 Rain Ninjas did not dare to do anything. They just looked at Yagyu angrily and ran to find their companions who had flown away. However, if they flew out at such a speed and strength, it would be difficult for them to survive. This Konoha genin is really a killing god, so scary. Seeing that Konoha's jonin favored Yagyu, the others naturally did not dare to make trouble. Who dares to provoke a guy who is as powerful as a jonin and comes to the chunin exam to fry fish? Thinking that they will have to compete with such a guy for the jonin quota and take the exam together tomorrow, everyone feels scalp tingling. Forget it, just be more invigilators, everyone thought and left the classroom together. At the same time, the Sand Village Ninja and Yakushi Kabuto also found their own organization to report intelligence. At the inn, Maki was not surprised after listening to what Temari saw and heard in the first Chunin exam. Because long before the Chunin exam, he got information about Yagyu from Orochimaru. Before graduation, he mastered the nature change of the dual attribute chakra of fire and lightning, and was good at the swordsmanship of the Moonlight clan and the Uchiha clan. The top graduate of this year's Konoha. His strength crushed the genius orphan of the Uchiha. He had no bloodline limit, but crushed the Uchiha clan with his superb ninjutsu and swordsmanship talents. Such talents reminded Maki of Hitaki Sakumo and the fourth Hokage. These two people relied on ordinary people's bodies to fight the entire ninja world. Will Yagyu be the next one of them? Before the third exam, try not to have conflicts with Gekko Liusheng. Especially you, Gaara. If your identity is exposed before the plan, all our preparations will be in vain. Maki told the three. Temari and Kankuro nodded. Knowing how terrifying Liusheng was, they naturally wouldn't go to trouble him. As for Gaara, he finally suppressed the bloodthirsty excitement in his heart and nodded lightly. Mom, just wait, I will let you taste better blood soon. Somewhere in Konoha, after finishing his exams, Kabuto Yakushi returned to his residence in disguise and came here carefully in disguise. He looked around cautiously, and after making sure that he was not being followed, he pressed a hidden switch. The next moment, a stone wall slowly moved, and a hidden cave slowly opened. Kabuto Yakushi walked into it with great familiarity, passed through the dark tunnel and came to the depths of the cave. As the firelight flickered, the scene inside the cave gradually appeared. Utensils, there were jars filled with various strange instruments. This was a hidden research room. The owner of this research room was the S-rank rebel ninja of Konoha, Orochimaru. Kabuto, it seems that the plan is not going well. Orochimaru was fiddling with something in front of the instrument. He didn't turn around but knew the information of the person who came. Lord Orochimaru, there are some problems. Pharmacist Do replied respectfully. Who is it about? Gaara, Maki, Uchiha Sasuke, or Gekko Yagyu? Gekko Yagyu. Kabuto Yakushi replied. Lord Orochimaru, I think we all underestimated his strength and talent. Oh, is his strength and talent really better than Uchiha Sasuke? Uchiha Sasuke had not taken action, but judging from his position among the three, he should be like this. Uchiha Sasuke is very conceited. Unless someone is stronger than him, there is no way he would follow him. Orochimaru stopped what he was doing and raised his head to reveal his bloody mask and eyelids. Both hands were holding scalpels, which were covered with fresh blood, as if they had just been soaked from a living person. So what is the problem you are talking about? Moonlight Liusheng has strength no less than yours. There was a brief silence in the cold basement. The flickering firelight swayed in an inexplicable breath, as if something was making the flames feel afraid. Do, you know I don't like jokes. Lord Orochimaru, I am not joking. You know, I never joke. Looking at the serious face of Kabuto Yakushi, Orochimaru stared for a long time, and finally chose to believe in Kabuto Yakushi's judgment. As the most outstanding spy in his hands, Orochimaru had no reason to doubt Kabuto Yakushi's ability. Similarly, as the subordinate who admired him the most, Orochimaru also trusted his loyalty very much. If this is the case, this Moonlight Liusheng is not a good container choice at the moment. He is in the same class as Sasuke, so I am afraid that it will also affect our actions to fight against Sasuke. By the way, Toss and his team failed. Before the Chunin exam, they helped me to infiltrate Gekko Yagyu and his team, but they were killed by Gekko Yagyu in one move. Oh, interesting, he killed someone just because he provoked me. There is a lot more darkness in this person's heart than I thought. It's a pity that this guy is not easy to provoke, otherwise he can be my next container. Are you going to give up on Moonlight Yagyu? No, I like him more and more, and I can't bear to give him up. We need to replan, hee hee. There are also differences between the cage levels. Orochimaru will not give up this good container just because Yagyu is about the same strength as himself. It's just like when he saw Uchiha Itachi, he knew that his strength was not inferior to that of Cage but he still wanted to attack him. Orochimaru is very confident in himself. It's not that he is confident that he is invincible in the Cage level, but he is confident that no matter how strong the opponent is, he has the means to defeat, subdue, and kill him. He is just a young genius. Orochimaru is not afraid of his high talent. He will only be more excited. After successfully passing the first exam, the 3 members of Team 7 were not very happy. On the contrary, Ino and the others were extremely excited. More than 100 genin from various ninja villages took part in the Chunin exam, and they, the freshmen who graduated this year, actually beat them and became one of the more than 40 people who advanced to the second exam. Although such an achievement is not worth being proud of, it is worth celebrating. Even their instructor, the Jonin, said not to be complacent, but he couldn't suppress the smile on his face. When they signed up for their subordinates for the Chunin exam, they were talked about by countless Jonin. Now, the subordinates they led have successfully passed the first exam. Even if they didn't become Chunin in the end, it was still a remarkable existence. With good means and psychological qualities in the first year after graduation, what else can they ask for? Even if those more experienced Jonins were to lead the team, they might not be able to train genin to this level in the first year, right? In this regard, Kurenai Yuhi and Asuma Sarutobi were also very happy. However, Kakashi Hatake didn't show any expression. The worst of his subordinates can fight against Chunin, and the strongest is stronger than him, an elite Jonin. They just passed the first exam of the Chunin exam. Even if his 3 subordinates finally passed the Chunin exam, he would just congratulate them, and there would not be many unexpected surprises. At 8 o'clock the next day, Team 7, which always arrived on time, was forced to get up early and come to the site of the second exam, the Death Forest. The Death Forest is one of the most dangerous training grounds in Konoha's training ground. There are not only various poisonous insects, snakes and rats, but also bears, tigers and other beasts. These beasts are not summoned beasts, but they are much stronger than ordinary genin with their terrible speed and lethality. If they are unprepared, even some Chunin will die miserably in this forest. So choosing the second exam here is also a great test for a group of genin. What's more, the candidates have to find food and shelter in it by themselves, and they need to be alert to various beasts and poisonous insects, and be wary of sneak attacks from other ninjas. The 3-person team came to the crowd. There were a total of 153 people participating in this Chunin exam. A total of 111 people were eliminated in the previous exam, leaving 42 people. With the arrival of Yagayu and the others, all the people for the second exam were present. Seeing that everyone was present, Mitarashi Anko also jumped out from the dark. Now that everyone is here, come over and sign the life and death agreement. Life and death warrant? What life and death warrant? Mitarashi Anko raised her lips and said sarcastically to the group of examinees, the Chunin exam is not a game. It is normal for some people to die, isn't it? If you are afraid, it's very simple, come back next year. Faced with Hongdu's sarcasm, everyone fell silent. Come back next year. No one will die next year. All of them have been tested in the first exam, and their psychological quality is strong. No one refused to take the exam because of fear. After a while, everyone signed the scroll of life and death. Seeing that no one withdrew, Mitarashi Hongdu couldn't help but praise. Very good, it seems that there are no cowards. You trash are not completely useless. Quote. Quote. The candidates stared at Mitarashi Anko with resentment. If Mitarashi Anko was not their examiner, they would let Mitarashi Anko see who was the loser. Of course, Mitarashi Anko didn't know what her fellow candidates were thinking, but if she knew, then she'll be even more excited. The rules of the second exam are to collect 2 sets of scrolls with the word, heaven, and earth, on them, and take the 2 sets of scrolls to the tower in the center of the Death Forest to pass the test. Each of your groups will get a scroll later, and the only way to get the scroll is to steal the scrolls from other teams. Of course, there are no rules for plundering. No matter if you sneak attack, assassinate, poison, or gang up on someone, there is no problem. There is no limit to the means. No matter life or death. The words, life or death, were very heavy by Mitarashi Anko, giving people who heard it a very heavy and dangerous feeling. However, everyone was not scared by Mitarashi Anko. The same means of intimidation were no longer effective after a few times. Although it was less than a day, everyone had a preliminary understanding of this invigilator. He was a middle school student, a big-headed person, and liked to say scary things. On the surface, He looked very strong and his strength was not weak, but that was all. The second exercise assessment was not like the first written test. The invigilator was there from beginning to end in the first written test. As long as the exercise test started, the invigilator could not keep an eye on them in real time. It was impossible for him to make things difficult for anyone. So they were not afraid of Mitarashi Anko at all. Compared with the invigilator, they were more worried about the opponents in the Death Forest. Especially Gecko Yagayu. This guy was not only a killing god, but also had no problem killing people in the exam. Even Konoha, which had always been weak, would favor him. So no one wanted to meet Gecko Yagayu in the exam. After all, the difference in strength was too big. There was no power to resist at all. A Jonin and a group of Genin are fighting for the identity of a Chunin. They are so shameless. Soon, each team lined up to receive their own scroll. And everyone who came out to receive the scroll was stared at by other teams, hoping to collect more information before the exam so that they can gather the scrolls they need. This also made everyone who came out to receive the scroll become cautious. They didn't want to be stared at by a group of people. Except for Gecko Yagayu. The scroll of Team 7 was received by Yagayu. Unlike other teams who were secretive, Yagayu had no intention of hiding it. He directly took the scroll with the word, Sky, in his hand and showed it to all the candidates. Many teams that got the scroll of Earth showed greedy expressions, but soon they looked at Yagayu's devilish smile and lowered their heads guiltily. Who dares to snatch this scroll of Sky in the hands of this killing god? Mitarashi Anko, who was not far away, looked at the unscrupulous Yagayu and curled her lips in dissatisfaction. This little devil, if you are arrogant because of your own strength and don't know how to hide yourself, you will suffer a great loss sooner or later. Who was not a genius before? But there are geniuses above geniuses. You can't always maintain your status as a genius. Just like Hitaki Kakashi, who surpassed everyone at that time, so what if he was a 12-year-old ninja? More than 10 years have passed, and his strength has not always been far ahead. Many people who were clumsy in the ninja school are not much weaker than Kakashi now. The principle that the tree that stands out in the forest will be destroyed by the wind applies to most geniuses. But Yagayu, not a genius. No matter how hard Hongdu thought, he could not think that Liu Sheng's current strength came from other people's genius, and the strength he showed now was only a very small part. The Immortal King was fighting for the Foundation, so he had to suppress his strength to the Foundation stage to play the pig and eat the tiger. For Liu Sheng, if he had not been exposed at the beginning, it would not matter if he was low-key. But his strength had long been hidden, and he was invincible in Konoha. If he was still submissive and cowardly, it would be too disrespectful to his strength. It was for this reason that Liu Sheng would expose the scroll unscrupulously, with the purpose of attracting some fearless teams to deliver the scroll. After all, it is a troublesome thing to find someone carrying the corresponding scroll by yourself. If you are unlucky, you may not be able to find the corresponding scroll of Earth even if you find 3 or 4 groups of people. Of course, with the strength shown by Liu Sheng, it is difficult to attract some people who are looking for death. So another purpose of Liu Sheng deliberately exposing his scroll is to find the owner of the Scroll of Earth. Those who showed greed for him just now are the targets they will prioritize hunting in the next exam. Some people who guessed what Yagayu was thinking had quietly moved away from Yagayu. They had no intention of confronting Yagayu head-on. Passing the test only required 1 copy of the Heaven and Earth Scroll, and they only hoped to stay away and let other unlucky people take the scroll away from Yagayu first. As long as Yagayu didn't block them in front of the examination room, most of them would be safe. Yagayu secretly remembered the faces with strange expressions, and the faces of 2 of them made him a little concerned. These 2 people were from the Hidden Grass Village, but they belonged to 2 teams. One of them had long hair and looked neither male nor female, and his eyes were very cold. Yagayu looked at him as if he was looking at a snake. Obviously, this guy was Orochimaru, who came in disguise. The other person was a girl with a long red hair that attracted attention. If the guess was correct, this person was the nanny who was held hostage by the Hidden Grass Village, Karen. One of the main reasons for Orochimaru's attack on Konoha this time must be for Sasuke. Yagayu was a little hesitant whether to help Orochimaru successfully plant the curse seal on Sasuke. Otherwise, with his and Sasuke's current strength, Orochimaru would hardly succeed. The curse seal originated from Jugo, and Jugo's power is to automatically absorb natural energy, allowing Jugo to enter Sage mode. The curse seal and Jugo's power have the same source, which means that the curse seal is also a way to use natural energy. If Sasuke successfully activates the power of the curse seal, then Yagyu can gain 100 times the power of the curse seal. The curse seal is called a low-end magic, but if it is enhanced 100 times, it would not be much weaker than the real magic. But if Sasuke dies when the power of the curse seal is activated, not only will he not be able to get the power back, but he may also lose a tool. So whether to help Orochimaru plant the curse seal on Sasuke is also a question. Let's go, Karen. What are you doing there? Hurry up and follow me. Hey, yes, I'm here. Karen, who had no status in Kusagakure village, was ordered around like a dog by other ninjas. However, because she had been living under someone else's roof since she was a child, Karen had long been accustomed to it and did not think there was anything wrong, but was a little sad. Before leaving, she looked back at the genius boy from Konoha. Was he looking at me just now? Karen thought. After all 14 teams got the scrolls, they were taken to the entrance of the Death Forest by Konoha's Chunin. Each intersection was about 50 meters apart. If they had good eyesight, they could even see who the team next to them was. The Rain Village team composed of Oboro, Mango, and Kagura also discovered this and immediately looked around them, hoping to see clearly who the team closest to them was. If they were strong, the first thing to do when entering the Death Forest was to run. If they were weak, they would approach them directly and try to defeat them and seize the scroll. Although this exam gave them 5 days of exam time, the later it got, the more difficult it would be to pass the assessment. Because the later the exam, the fewer teams were left, and the less likely it was to find the corresponding scroll. No one who could pass the exam on the first day wanted to pass it on the 5th day. That woman is on our left, Long said in annoyance. Which woman? Meng Huo asked. That's the one who knocked down the Otogakure ninja without even moving a muscle. Long said fearfully. Not everyone can see Yagyu's moves clearly. Although their strength is good among genin, and some of their methods can even be used to deal with chunin. But there is still a big gap between seeing Yagyu's moves clearly. That's why they think that it was Yamanaka Ino who defeated Toss. The other two turned their heads and took a closer look. Isn't it the purple-clothed girl Yamanaka Ino? The idea is a bit tricky. Look to the right. Long said. Don't look at it. The point on the right is more difficult. It's that Moonlight Lu Sheng. Meng Huo sighed. Their scroll is the Scroll of Earth. If they can get Lu Sheng's Scroll of Heaven, they can pass the exam at the fastest speed. But how is it possible? This Gecko Yagyu is not someone that these genin can mess with. And most importantly, now it is not them who are hunting others, but they themselves may become someone else's prey. There are strong men on both the left and right sides, and they feel like they have no way to go up to the sky and no way to enter the earth. How come I was double-teamed by these two teams? Long said angrily. There is no other way. If I want to pass the exam now, I have to hide myself. Our scroll. Meng Huo stopped talking in the middle of his speech. He didn't know if anyone was watching them. If people on both sides heard what he was saying, they would be doomed. Anyway, let's run forward and find a secluded place to hide for a day or two. The other two nodded, agreeing with Meng Huo's judgment. In this situation, they would die if they confronted anyone head-on, so they could only hide for now. The exam begins. Candidates enter the examination room. While the three were thinking, the invigilator Chunin announced the start of the exam. Upon hearing this, the three immediately entered the Death Forest and ran for their lives. Ino's team, after entering the Death Forest, they did not wait like in the original book, but chose to move closer to Yagyu and others. After Shikamaru's thinking, the best way to pass this exam is to rely on Yagyu. There is no more stable way than to hug the thigh. Of course, Shikamaru is not worried that Yagyu will not hug their thigh. After all, there is Ino. Although he is dissatisfied with Ino for attracting so many people's attention at the venue. But it can allow the team to obtain Yagyu's thigh pendant power. That is not what a big deal. Team 7. Yagyu and his team did not move forward quickly after entering the Forest of Death, but found a shady place to sit down and wait. waiting for the enemy, and also waiting for Ino. Before the exam began, he made an appointment with Ino to lead them through the second exam. So he did not plan to walk around, and waited for Ino to come before looking for the scroll. Originally, Yagyu was going to lead Hinata through the test, but Inuzuka Kiba and Aburame Shino were strong-willed and rejected Yagyu's kindness. The waiting process was boring and long. As Yagyu's younger brother and follower, Sasuke had no questions no matter what Yagyu did. But Sakura couldn't help herself. Mr. Yagyu, who are we waiting for? Enemies, and Ino. This guy Ino. She actually wanted Yagyu-kun to help her pass the exam, that's too much. Sakura was a little resentful. When they were young, they had successfully formed a united front because of Hinata, but as they graduated, he and Yagyu became teammates. The three people's relationship turned into the relationship of two people, and Yagyu became more and more bothered when other women approached her. Except for the big sister Azuki Yugao, she couldn't afford to offend anyone else. Even if it was Ino's sister, she would be jealous. Yagyu also noticed Sakura's change of mentality, but didn't take it to heart. Women. Jealousy is normal, otherwise there wouldn't be all kinds of large-scale ethical and emotional TV dramas. Quote, the smoke cleared and the pug wearing the ninja forehead protector appeared. Long time no see, Lord Yagyu. Is there anything I can do for you? Goodbye Moonlight Yagyu. Parker had a flattering look on his face. This was the first time Yagyu summoned it in a mission, and it had to perform well. Yagyu glanced at it lightly and said, just help me pay attention to the smell of snakes. Tell me as soon as the smell of snakes appears. Got it. I will work hard for Master Yagyu, and I will do my best until my death. I don't know who Parker went to learn the art of flattery from after he returned. His words are full of tricks, and he looks like a lackey. After listening to Parker's more than 300 words of praise, Yagyu kicked him away and said lightly, noisy. Sasuke, Sakura, Parker. On the other side, Orochimaru, disguised as a ninja from the Hidden Grass Village, ordered his two subordinates to leave after entering the Death Forest, and also headed in the direction of Yagyu and his friends. Through the snake's reconnaissance ability, Yagyu and his friends' location was exposed. Gecko Yagyu, Uchiha Sasuke. Squeak, how big a surprise can you give me? Sticks out tongue. Someone is coming. Parker, who had been on alert, said to the three Yagyu. Sakura and Sasuke were secretly alert, but Yagyu didn't care. The one who could come so quickly at this time was either Ino or Orochimaru. If it was Orochimaru, Parker should have said, there is a smell of snake, instead of someone coming. Not long after, Ino and the other two really appeared. Yagyu-kun. Seeing Yagyu from a distance, Ino excitedly greeted him. Sakura looked unhappy. She had to flirt with Yagyu-kun even for a mission. What a hateful woman. See you again, Sasuke, Yagyu, Sakura. Shikamaru scratched his head and said a little embarrassedly. After all, he was here to curry favor with someone, so Shikamaru felt a little embarrassed. As for Choji and Ino, one only had eyes for food, and the other only had eyes for men, and they had no sense of shame at all. Yagyu nodded to Shikamaru, just follow us for the next action. By the way, what are your scrolls? It is also the scroll of heaven. Shikamaru took out the scroll that he had kept with him and said. That's perfect, 2 scrolls of earth will be enough. Yagyu said lightly, and then threw their scrolls to Shikamaru, asking you to keep the scrolls until you pass the test. He was too lazy to move around with a scroll, which was quite troublesome. Shikamaru was stunned for a moment and asked curiously, you trust us so much, aren't you afraid that we will run away with your scrolls? You try to run away. Yagyu glanced at him nonchalantly. Shikamaru looked helpless. He could be so confident just because he was strong. If he had this kind of strength, he would not be afraid of others running away with his things, because others could not bear the consequences. Just take it if I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense? You still want to run away with the scroll. Can you run away? Ino scolded Shikamaru with the momentum of a big sister. Shikamaru could only agree with Ino with his head lowered. Yes, 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 you were right. Yagyu-kun, where are we going next? After scolding Shikamaru, Ino asked Yagyu. Why don't we go find something to eat? They took away all my snacks when we came in. I'm starving now. Dinky rubbed his fat belly, and his belly immediately made a gurgling sound, sounding very aggrieved. Eating so much every day will kill you. Ino was dissatisfied with Choji's interruption, and was about to scold him, but Yagyu said, "Someone will deliver the scroll anyway, so it's okay for us to get some food first. But you'd better work in groups of 2, so as not to be unable to react when encountering danger." Hearing that they had to form groups, Ino immediately stepped forward and hugged Yagyu's arm, saying in unison, "Then I must be in a group with Yagyu." Seeing that their little sister was trying to snatch a man from them, both of them showed fierce eyes. Wide forehead, why are you following Lu Shungjin? I am here to accompany Lu Shungjin, so what else do you have to do? What did you say? Anobo, you should be the one who is fine. Yagyu and I are in the same team, why are you following us? Can't you just act with your teammates? Seeing that the two were getting more and more intense and were about to fight, Yagyu immediately stopped them and said, "Forget it, you two should just come with me. Sasuke, Parker, you two should go with Shikamaru and Choji." 2x2 groups became 3x3 groups. Although this method is less efficient, it is safer. After all, there is Orochimaru in the dark who may come out at any time. If only Shikamaru and Choji are allowed to act, they may be swallowed by the snake without any reaction. I remember that Naruto was dealt with in this way. If Naruto didn't have a shadow clone, a lot of chakra, and a human sacrifice, he might have died in the snake's belly. Shikamaru and Choji are just ants that Orochimaru can easily deal with. They have no value and he doesn't care about their life or death. Although the death forest is dangerous, it is rich in species. The 3 Yagyu took 2 steps and saw all kinds of mushrooms and small animals. Identifying the most basic edible wild food is a very basic course in the ninja school. So Yagyu and the others know exactly which mushrooms can be eaten and which mushrooms cannot be eaten. They picked some mushrooms, caught 2 rabbits and a wild boar. Yagyu and his friends have almost completed their food search. We also need to find a water source. We can't wait until we are thirsty to find one. Since we don't plan to speed through the test, we have to make all preparations for survival in the wild. It took some time to find a water source and pick up some dry firewood. After everything was ready, Yagyu and the others walked towards the agreed temporary camp. On the other hand, Sasuke and the others completed the task easily with the help of Parker. And because Choji is quite knowledgeable about food, they have a much deeper understanding of wild food. The hungry Choji even pulled out 2 grasses and stuffed them directly into his mouth, which made Parker feel ashamed. Be careful, there's a snake. It's very big. 3 people and 1 dog were concentrating on collecting food, when Parker suddenly gave a warning and jumped back a few steps to avoid the sneak attack of a big snake. Looking at the big snake that swallowed a small tree in one bite, Parker's dog hair was covered with cold sweat. If it hadn't reacted quickly just now, it would have become a snake poop now. What a big snake! Sinki was startled and wiped his saliva. This should be someone else's summoned beast, be careful of the enemy's sneak attack. Shikamaru approached his teammates while being alert to the surroundings. As for Sasuke, he was ruthless and didn't talk much. He cut the 3 or 4 meter fat snake into 2 pieces with 1 knife. The explosion of flames directly roasted the snake meat, and the fragrance stung the tip of Choji's nose. Such a big snake should be delicious, right? Shikamaru murmured. This thing must have eaten a lot of people. If you tear it apart, you might find a half-digested human corpse. Shikamaru deliberately frightened Choji to make him take back his thoughts on eating delicious food. Now is a matter of life and death, and the stomach cannot occupy the brain. Interesting, such strength really deserves to be the genius of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Sasuke. Orochimaru, wearing a Kusugakure forehead protector, crawled out from the ground with a sinister smile on his face. The silky appearance seemed as if the ground was as soft as water. Hearing the other party calling out his name directly, Sasuke frowned slightly. This guy is coming for me. Shikamaru also saw Orochimaru's intention, so he interrupted to delay time and get more information by the way. Are you from Kusugakure village? Where are your companions? Are they hiding somewhere preparing for a sneak attack? Orochimaru glanced at Shikamaru and said meaningfully, looking at this appearance, you must be a descendant of the Nara clan, right? It's a pity that your clan's fighting talent is too poor, otherwise you would be a good candidate. The Nara clan's ninjutsu is quite unique, with strong controllability and certain lethality, but the clan's outstanding skill is the brain. Reincarnation can only exchange bodies, not brains. The genius of the Nara clan does not mean much to Orochimaru. And he does not need the brains of the Nara clan. Orochimaru does not think he is dumber than anyone else. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.